and welcome to the first Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast of 2017. It's Paul here with...
Dan, Happy New Year.
Chris, Happy New Year.
Lee, fuck you.
You miserable git.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be happy yet this year. I said that on the Patreon podcast, and if I'm not happy, I don't want anyone else to be happy, so I should just hedge my bets. I'll be fucking hideous to everybody I meet, and then as I slowly get happier, I'll be nicer to people.
I would say that makes some kind of sense in your world, but that means I understand your world.
Exactly.
It makes no kind of sense at all because you're dragging the happiness of the world down by
Yes,
behaving like
yeah,
that.
that's it. Yeah.
God.
It's very early January 2017.
Yeah, January is something like 40 hours and 6 minutes old,
Yeah.
and you've broken this year already.
So, shall we have a look
A
back
new
at what
record.
happened in that last 12 months that was commonly known as 2016?
I think that would probably be a damn good idea. Do we get the sort of wibbly-wobbly flashback music, or do we just have to pretend?
Pretend.
Yeah.
It was so much nicer back in 2016.
I disagree. Lots of things happened which were questionable.
No, yeah, but they're still here now. Now we've got to live through them.
Well, we don't know that.
It was entertaining then. In 2016, it was entertainment that happened. Now it's reality. Everything's fucked.
Three Legs, Four Wheels, podcast of life. Brought to you by Lee.
Shall we go back to 2016?
Let's do that.
Please.
Well,
Should we go back to March, start with the race?
go back to March and start with the Australian Grand Prix.
It was in Australia.
As is the tradition
Yeah.
for the Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah, but they broke that tradition with the European Grand Prix this year. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Australian Grand
the
Prix
Australian
is
Grand Prix
traditionally held in Australia.
yes, Mercedes started to show them being dominant. Fernando got a upside down view of the world.
He did. I think that if you look back at 2016 or any video montages that many people have put together, the standout image from Australia is that accident between Gutierrez and Alonso. He was lucky to walk away from it. We thought he was fine at first, and of course it transpired he had a collapsed lung and a cracked rib, which kept him out of the next race. But of course we didn't know that at first. We were just very very happy to see that he crawled out of the car and went over to Gutierrez. They had a bit of a hug. "You're all right, mate?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "You all right?" "Yeah, fine." "Yeah." "Well, yeah, we're all right. Let's just walk off."
It was quite a small car that Alonso crawled out of, wasn't it?
It was tiny.
There wasn't as much of it as there was about a minute before.
Yeah.
You could argue that was the most competitive Gutierrez has been all year.
Moving over to block Alonso.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good start for Haas though.
Brilliant start for them.
Yeah.
Points in their first race.
Points in the first race. Points
For one of them. Hang on.
points
Yeah.
before they'd even made a pit stop.
Yeah, Grosjean finished 6th, which what's that worth? 8 points. So 8 points in your first race. Unless you're going back to the days when you scored 10 for a win.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did Grosjean get away with it by pitting under the safety car when Alonso?
Well, it was under the red flag.
It was
They
under
didn't
the red
actually,
flag, yeah.
they
Under
the
didn't
red
actually
flag.
make a moving
Yeah.
pit stop.
Right.
Yeah, because there was a red flag when Alonso had that accident, rightfully so. There was
See,
a lot of stuff to clear up.
No
and-
wonder Alonso was sound about it. He knows a thing or two about benefiting from crashes.
From red flags in particular, yeah. Yeah, there is that. But yeah, I mean, it was a Mercedes 1-2. Rosberg got the better of Hamilton at the front. We saw...
Ferrari should have won though.
yeah, Ferrari should have won. They had that... after the red flag, they put the super soft tyres, didn't they, on Vettel?
Yeah.
And everyone else went onto the softs, if I remember correctly. We're going back like 7 months now or something like this.
10.
10 months.
10 months.
Can we do a
months.
tally starting from now? So that's 1. Ferrari should have won.
Ferrari should have won. They should have won, but they put the wrong tyres on Vettel, which forced him to stop again, and he ended up finishing 3rd. But he was only just ahead of Daniel Ricciardo in 4th. It was... Ferrari threw away a chance to put an early stamp on the season, because if they had gone to Australia and won that race, even if it was just the one car up there and the other 2 Mercedes on the podium with Vettel, then that would have forced... it would have lifted Ferrari's spirits for a start, and perhaps they wouldn't be in the mess they find themselves in now, and Mercedes would have had to have had a bit of a meeting. Right, we need to up our game. First race of the season, we lost it. So
Yeah, possibly. It would have put a whole different outlook on the season, I think.
it would have put a different spin on things. Absolutely. We may have even have seen Nico Rosberg as champion well before he actually claimed it. Partly because I think Mercedes wouldn't quite have allowed the silliness that went on throughout the season between the two of them. If there was a threat of a Ferrari possibly taking points off them in the Constructors' title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, best line of the weekend, Kimi Raikkonen pulls into the pits, car's
Yep.
on fire, something's wrong.
Tell you what,
Something's wrong. Yeah, yes, mate, you're on fire, literally.
they could have ended up with looking for 2 drivers right now if that had happened.
What do you mean, sorry? If
No,
Ferrari had...
if they hadn't put up with the silliness between Hamilton and
I see Mercedes.
Rosberg, they'd have upset Hamilton by not allowing them to race. I think he'd leave. If that was to happen, Rosberg wins the championship, he retires.
Yeah.
It's speculating here, but maybe if Hamilton had gone, he would have decided actually racing's quite fun. I'll carry on doing
I
that.
think you're probably right.
Maybe,
Yeah.
possibly.
Yeah, there was no way it was going to be the two of them in a car next season.
No.
Not a chance.
There's
I
one
mean,
other
they're
thing
single-seaters.
that one other thing that Melbourne was notable for, but we don't talk about that.
Kangaroos?
Did anyone watch qualifying?
Oh.
yes.
I forgot about that. The terrible...
Forgot or repressed?
Repressed the memory. It was awful.
I will argue that the beginning
Q1 was great.
was
Yeah.
ace. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just went downhill from there
Yeah.
rapidly.
It
But
did, yeah.
The problem with that is I don't think it was the worst idea in the world. I actually think it would have been quite exciting if they'd have spent more than 15 minutes trying to make the rules.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the idea of having cars essentially racing on a track and then the slowest one
Yeah.
Get zapped.
gets
That's
zapped.
that's
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
In
it's ace.
principle, it should work.
Yeah.
And I think we decided, didn't we, partway through the season after they ditched it, that if they were going to bring it back, they should do it in one session rather than splitting it over the 3 sessions.
Yeah,
because it worked really well in Q1. Q2 was boring, and then Q3 was just non-existent.
Q3 was awful.
Yeah, Q3
top
was just
to bottom
non-existent.
it was.
You had the last 8 minutes of qualifying. There's no one on circuit.
They just simply didn't have the tyres for what they were trying to do. That's
No.
the issue.
No, I think that's it. It's worth pointing out as well with going back to the race. Williams had a strong-ish kind of start to the season by finishing 5th and 8th.
You say strongish. I would say they had their season.
5th and 8th. Fifth at the end of the season, 5th would have been a great performance for Williams.
Where was
But-
didn't Bottas, wasn't he like 4th or 5th in the last race?
Possibly something like that. But the glossing over that.
We haven't got there yet. We've still got another 20 races to go through.
What they didn't spot was that Nico Hülkenberg finished 7th, and Force India essentially would be a fly in the ointment for Williams for the entire rest of the season.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how much you can now look back on that first race of 2016 and sort of look at how the season was going to pan out a bit. I mean, there are certain things you can't look at, like, has scored points. They must score points all the way through. Maybe get podiums and a win.
You probably couldn't look at a Sauber.
No, nobody saw them. That was the problem.
They weren't on TV. You weren't allowed to see them. Oh, and another thing that sort of pointed the way the season was going to go, Kvyat didn't even make it to the grid.
No, in a Red Bull, though. Do you remember when he was in a Red Bull?
For those three competitive races.
Yes. Yeah, he didn't actually start the race, did he?
Remind me why that was?
Something to do with Max Verstappen being good and...
No. Why, remind me why he didn't start in Australia.
There was an electrical fault,
Yeah,
wasn't there?
his electrics went,
right.
and he got as far as halfway around the formation lap and then pulled off.
Yeah. We had, as well, Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz having a bit of a battle, didn't we, in the Toro Rossos? They were quite angry on the team radio, if you remember. As the season unfolded, we heard Vettel with his team radio rants. But back in that first race, it was Max Verstappen. Can you move over for Carlos? No. And he was the whiny one in that first race of the season.
I do seem to recall the words "whiny little bitch" getting used.
Yeah, I think we used that quite a lot.
Quite a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I think that became his nickname. Onto Bahrain next. Sometimes an interesting race this year really was a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Notable
Another-
for Stoffel Van Dorn racing.
Yeah, in place of the injured Fernando Alonso,
Yeah.
and scoring McLaren's first point of the season, and which at the time was a great performance. We had a did not start again from it was Sebastian Vettel, wasn't it? His engine blew on the formation lap.
Yeah, that was the. By God, did it blow? Also, Palmer didn't start this one.
No.
His hydraulics went, and did he actually make it out to the formation lap? I can't remember.
I think he did. I think he pulled in just as all the other cars were forming up on the grid. He decided he wasn't taking part of the grid.
Oh yeah, that was right. He did actually. Yeah, he actually pulled into the pit lane at the end of the formation lap.
But again, to switch it around for Ferrari, mixed race again, second race in. Kimi Räikkönen managed to finish second, split the Mercedes, finishing 1-3 rather than 1-2.
Remember those halcyon days when we thought, oh, Ferrari are going to give Mercedes a good challenge this season.
Well, this was them. Yeah, and it was just unfortunately the season, as I've just said before, didn't really transpire the way for Ferrari. But there wasn't any other major incidents, were there, in Bahrain? I don't think.
Not really. I mean,
Grosjean improved again, didn't he? He scored another point finish. I think he finished 5th in Bahrain, which was again great for.
Yeah,
Haas.
Wasn't it the beginning of Lewis's technical problems, Bahrain?
Was that an engine problem
I
in
think
qualifying
there
or
was
something like that?
No, he got pole position, but I think there was something. I can't remember.
Lewis and Bottas had a
That
nudge,
was it.
and Lewis lost a load of places. And then
It's good looking back at this and remembering all the things that went on.
Yeah, then he had to fight his way through. Of course, like we say, Stoffel managing to get points in a McLaren.
Yep.
Jensen did 6 laps.
Kvyat finished 7th in a Red Bull. It's worth pointing out.
Yes. Yeah, 1 place behind Verstappen.
Yeah. Verstappen finished 6th in the Toro Rosso. So
Where
Yeah.
did Ricciardo finish in that race?
Ricciardo 4th.
5th. Sorry,
No,
4th.
4th in Bahrain.
4th. Quite a distance back from Lewis, 16 seconds ahead of Grosjean.
So on his own, really.
Basically, yeah. Next up,
China.
it would be China.
Another win for Nico Rosberg. He stretched his advantage, didn't he, early on in the season, and a nightmare of a race for his teammate Lewis Hamilton, who that's where he had his engine problems, I think, in qualifying.
Yeah.
And then as he was fighting his way through the field, he got his front wing taken off, didn't he? He had to pit, have a new front wing put on, and he only managed to battle back to 7th. So the top 6 places were sort of open for a rare at this point, a rare non-Mercedes 1-2.
Well, this was the beginning of us thinking that the Mercedes found it difficult to follow the cars, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the 2016 Mercedes was pretty bad at following.
Yeah, I mean, at least we had all 22 cars starting this time.
Yeah.
Which-
And again, a glimmer of hope for Ferrari. Vettel finishing 2nd, behind the triumphant Rosberg.
And
Not only all 22 cars started, all 22 finished as well.
They did.
Which, of course, if you're listening to our interview with Sean Kelly, Virtual Statman, some weeks back, that's quite a rare occurrence,
Yeah.
but becoming more frequent in modern Formula One.
Yeah. Lewis having the technical problems started at the back of the grid. Already got a 5-place gearbox penalty, and what was it? The engine just went on him.
yeah.
Not for the
For the first time.
Yeah,
for
not
the
for
first
the
time.
last time.
Not for the last time this season. But Rosberg stretched his lead out. Of course, China was where we had the that was the bizarre drying the track incident, because there was the big puddle,
Yeah.
and it seemed to take them ages to actually get the safety crew onto the start finish straight.
And then you got like one man with a brush.
Yeah,
made out of sticks.
yeah, and it was just this sort of foot deep puddle that everyone was trying to clear up.
That wasn't also the weekend where Ferrari started dead strong in testing.
Yeah,
And
I think
it
so.
was all the way up until Saturday afternoon. We thought, they're going to be in with a shot here. Then Nico Rosberg got pole, and then it was the beginning of the theme of going, yeah, but Ferrari will have the race pace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but it didn't help them
never
bumping into each other on
materialised.
the first corner.
But even it just nothing materialise.
No, I mean
Vettel
Vettel finished second in Bahrain, in China, sorry, and Kvyat finished third. In his was final race? Was that then for?
No,
He did. Oh,
the
yeah, he
next
did.
No,
one was
there was
Yeah,
Russia
he did.
because that was the dawn of the
that's right.
swears.
Correct. See, this is wonderful. I like all this remembering. It's great. And,
so yeah, China was where Vettel had the massive rant at Kvyat in the cool-down room.
yeah, and he said,
and
"I'm just
Kvyat-
trying to race."
We both finished.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the podium
Yeah.
as well.
You came at me like a torpedo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
That was the one.
Yeah, because that's what we called the podcast that week,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah.
It's strange while we're doing all this remembering, we all have this same bluey whitish glow in our face.
Yes, we do. It's bizarre, isn't it?
You're listening to Three Legs Four Wheels reads Wikipedia.
Sit down, children. It's time for a story.
Yeah. So,
Sit down.
behave. So Danny Rick managed another fourth place, and it was only fifth for Kimi Raikkonen. So that glimmer of hope that I was talking about before for Ferrari, sort of they had the Red Bulls in amongst them already by this point of the season.
But Raikkonen was going around with a damaged car.
He was, yeah. That's why he managed to.
He managed to get back up to fifth because he pitted at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, and so it was one of those recovery drives, but it was all down to that first lap incident between the two cars, really, wasn't it? Was it Vettel hit Raikkonen and Raikkonen went sideways round the corner?
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that was all.
Wasn't it the first Kvyat, though? Wasn't that the first Kvyat bump?
Yeah, the torpedo thing.
yeah. Kvyat just came through and Vettel and Raikkonen both thought there was room for two cars and there wasn't even room for one. And before
Yeah.
you know it, Kimi's sideways and 12th.
Yeah.
It was essentially their season, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much.
It's
That
just in a
epitomised
nutshell.
Ferrari season. Yeah. So, but nothing else particularly strong about China. Russian Grand Prix.
Russian Grand Prix.
Red from Red? No. Anyone would think I was reading. It was led from start to finish by Nico Rosberg.
Lights to flag victory.
Yeah.
There you go. So,
yeah, but this is where we saw the first real appearance of the FIA bleep machine.
Yeah, it was at the second corner incident, third corner incident between Vettel and Kvyat. When Kvyat hit him not once, not twice, but 3 times, I think.
I think you'll find he hit me in the fucking back once, hit me in the fucking back again, and then hit me a fucking again.
And spun me round.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing here?
Are we racing or playing fucking ping pong? Which I think was what came over the radio. But yeah, that was the we didn't know it at the time. That was the end of Danny Kvyat's Red Bull career, and for now, and
Forever.
Yeah.
yeah. Was it shortly after the race they decided they were going to swap Verstappen and Kvyat around?
I think it was shortly after that move.
I think it was a week before that move.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think-
it was during an episode of Game of Thrones.
Well, that's when he found out
That's when he
about
found
it.
out about it.
Because we were saying that we thought he was only in that car because it was Russia. And then it's time
Yeah.
to go. Poor Danny.
Yeah, that's it. But I mean, Mercedes kind of reasserted themselves. 2 1-2 finishes so far in the season out of 4 races. So not quite the dominance that we saw Mercedes putting in previous year, 2015 especially. But they still asserted themselves.
Oh yeah, I mean that was also
Throughout the
Rosberg's
season.
7th consecutive win,
Yeah.
which no mean feat.
No, I think there's only 3 drivers who've managed that, and they're all German:
Yeah,
Schumacher, Vettel, and Rosberg. I think.
you might be right, but nobody's actually got that page up at the moment.
No, no. I seem to remember that at the time.
But again, Lewis having more engine problems there because they swapped his engine out for the one that he used in China.
And it broke down.
Yeah, it was just everything is going wrong for him.
Well, this was the beginning of the conspiracy theories, wasn't it?
Yeah, they want a German champion at Mercedes.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
We got one. No, they haven't.
Kinda.
They had one for a few days.
they got the German champion. Then he's like, "I'm off, mate. See you later."
And I'm finished. Ha!
Yeah. Back to Finland for me. Don't even speak the language.
Probably
So
does,
that-
though, doesn't he?
Then the probably does actually.
Speaks
that's a good
everything
point.
else.
He does, yeah. So then we had Spain with the terrible smash between the two of them.
Yeah, turn 2.
No, it was a bit later than that, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3. Turn 4, I think it was going into.
Was it turn 4? It kind of started coming out of turn 3.
It was after the straight, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit of a straight.
And then it was just
Yeah, Rosberg was in the wrong engine mode.
apparently yes, and he was.
Didn't have the traction, so Lewis went for a gap. Rosberg drifted across the track. We looked at it at the time, and straight away Lee said, Rosberg's
Yeah,
Yeah, but he said that before the incident.
yeah.
yeah.
And
I stand by my statement.
it looked like, to us, it was. I think from memory, it looked to us as though it was more Nico's fault than Lewis's, but it was seen as a racing incident.
Yeah, because I mean, Lewis actually ended up on the grass on the inside.
Because he had nowhere else
He
to
had
go.
nowhere else to go, and then he seemed to lose the back end and just collected Rosberg,
Yeah.
who was, even though Lewis was sideways, was going slower than him.
I believe, didn't Vettel do a similar thing to Fernando Alonso once? I'm sure it was the very, very similar thing where Alonso tried to take Vettel and Vettel just shoved him onto the grass. There.
No, I remember
Right there.
Vettel going around the outside of Alonso in Curva Grande in
Same year.
same year,
Yeah,
2012.
yeah.
Was it then? So I think that was 2012, 2013 when he went round the outside of Alonso on the grass,
I think
200 and something miles per hour.
that would
Not
have been
advisable, Seb.
that would have been the year Maldonado won Spain, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They might have collected each other then. I can't remember.
Possibly. I know Alonso. I think he finished second that race.
He did as well. Yeah.
Because he was like, it's just easily Alonso's race, and then made a pit stop, and Williams was like, ha.
Yeah,
Fell into our trap.
I'm pretty sure at that point Alonso was going, "This is easily my race."
Yeah, I think that's what he was thinking too.
And Williams
Pastor
were
had
thinking,
other ideas.
Williams are thinking, fantastic, we've got loads more victories coming now.
Still waiting.
Yeah. Then somebody set the garage on fire.
I like the idea.
Everything is wrong with the world. I've had enough.
See, he is really good. Like the idea that he could just use all his talent up in one race. That's a ridiculous idea.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, there was that incident with the first lap incident with the Mercedes, and then the dream debut Red Bull senior team win for Max Verstappen, which stole all of the headlines, front pages.
Slash throwing Daniel Ricciardo under the bus
Yeah.
ever so slightly.
Yeah, that was a Red Bull. And another. Here, you ready? You ready for this one? Ferrari could have won that. So what's that? 3 now out of 5?
Yeah.
3 out of 5 that Ferrari could have won.
Yeah, Ferrari just managed to get the strategies completely wrong. The Ricciardo thing, you've got to feel sorry for him because Red Bull put one driver on one Ferrari.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that Ferrari got the strategies wrong and badly wrong, and they put Ricciardo on the driver that they got the strategy badly wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
This isn't the first time they're going to upset Ricciardo, is it?
well, Ferrari kind of tricked Red Bull, or the other way around. I think Red Bull tricked Ferrari into thinking which driver they were going to put up first. And they thought, well, there's no way they're going to put Max in as their lead driver in the first race. Little did they know the PR train, it is Red Bull. Came smashing through the wall.
But they do everything to the max.
They should have known. But yeah, it was a wonderful for the sport when Max won that race. For the casual viewer and people who aren't even that interested in Formula One,
Rather good for our numbers as well, if I remember rightly.
Yes, there were. Yes,
that was the week we went top 10 in Dutch iTunes.
Yeah.
yeah. And we don't even podcast in Dutch. I don't get it, but
Barely podcast in English, Chris.
I know. But yeah, it was the. Everybody was reading the headlines. An 18-year-old who'd only just gone into that team to replace a driver who was a bit crashy, won his first race for that team, and Mercedes' dominance was over, and it was King Max and all this, and it was the only win that he took this year. He still only got one win to his name.
Yeah.
Well, Mercedes didn't dominate that race because they were in the garage.
Well, they were sat in the briefing room being shouted at.
Yes.
Well, there was a briefing. Mercedes briefing during the race because both drivers were out. They had nothing to do. They packed up early, were ready to go before the end of the race, and so they were doing their briefing.
I remember while we were watching the race, seeing Nico and Lewis led up the stairs into the Mercedes,
followed by
upstairs
Toto and
porter
Nicky.
cabin, followed by the top Austrian brass. One of the first that did happen in this race, Gutierrez's first 11th place of the season.
Hooray! Esteban Gutierrez. Oh, I've got an 11th place. I wonder if I'll ever score points.
No.
Nah, sorry, mate.
Spoiler
no.
alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. You don't.
Not in 2016, and 2017's looking dodgy as well.
Yeah, you know that seat that you really like? Well, some Danish guy's going to get that.
Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't have called your team a cunt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and been very angry over the team radio and in Mexican publications as well.
And a public argument with your boss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or one of your bosses in the garage.
Yeah, right on camera. We also saw, while we're on the subject of Haas, Grosjean's first brake failure that put him out.
Oh, was that then? Was it that far back?
That was back in Spain.
Oh, I had no idea that it was that far back. We also saw the.
So they set a bit of a theme for the year in Spain.
Pretty much, yeah.
We also saw a conspicuous retirement for Fernando Alonso, though he may not have wanted to go around that circuit too often. You know, bad memories and that. So,
with the Haas brake failure, you would have thought it would have been at this point in the season, really, somebody should have gone, should we get to the bottom of this brake thing right now?
yeah. Rather than being like, oh, it's a one-off. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Well, there was no need to look at it then because it's Monaco next and you don't go fast enough to put too much pressure on the brakes for the next race.
Well, we know someone who didn't go fast enough in Monaco to put too much pressure on the brakes and crashed out of every single session. That's right, Max Verstappen.
Yeah, didn't even set a time within 107%.
No, crashed out of all practice sessions, crashed out of qualifying, and crashed out of the race.
Same corner as well.
On three occasions, I think it was.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Just past the swimming pool.
It was the swimming pool chicane.
Yeah.
And in doing so, made a mockery of the 107% rule.
Yes.
On you go, son.
It's all right. You won last time. You must be pretty fast. I think being fast wasn't his problem. I think Monaco, where you have to be precise, was perhaps his problem. But
Yes, having all the bits of his car attached.
yeah, that's it. But I mean, after the double retirement of the Mercedes pair in Spain, we saw the start of the turnaround of Hamilton's fortunes leading towards the mid-season. Because he won the race, no thanks to Red Bull forgetting that Danny Ricciardo might have needed some tyres. And I think Nico Rosberg was pipped to the line right at the end by Nico Hülkenberg. He was on for a 6th place finish, and Hülkenberg was like, "Nah, I'll have this."
I actually missed Hülkenberg doing the pass because if you remember, I had to literally run out of my house the second the race finished.
Oh yeah, because you had a gig to play.
I had a gig that afternoon because it was the bank holiday weekend.
That was weird because I was sat in your front room watching you playing a gig down the hill because I could actually see the stage from your front room. And
Yeah.
I was just like, this is weird. Paul's down there now. I can see him. He's on stage.
And I'm sniffing his underwear.
No, that was in his bedroom.
But yeah, it was an interesting Monaco this year, especially with the way that Hamilton managed the tyres, going from wet to kitten softs.
Yeah, straight away because a lot of people pitted to go onto Inters, didn't they? And I think it was only Pascal Wehrlein and Lewis Hamilton who decided that they would just go from the wets straight onto the kitten softs, and they did the whole race. I think after that first pit stop, something like 50 laps on the ultra soft tyre, which is supposed to burn up quite quickly. Hence why it was only used on like street circuits.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good race for McLaren though. Managing to actually get both cars into the points. Lee was happy that weekend.
yeah,
Just.
both cars in the points, but it was again like we said before. It's not a circuit of speed. It's
No.
a circuit where precision.
And there was shenanigans.
Oh, of course there were.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were shenanigans involved. It's Formula One. There's always shenanigans involved.
It's Formula One in Monaco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean,
Even the mannequins
that
go.
Red Bull stop was just dire. But it was perhaps the worst pit stop I've ever seen. I can't think of another pit stop that went quite so badly, apart from Jos Verstappen
When the car set on fire.
in Germany '94. Yeah, when somebody splashed fuel all over his hot exhaust and the whole pit crew caught fire.
There is the
At least-
Bottas three tyres of one type and one tyre of another. which was pretty bad.
Was that 2015 or 2016?
That was 2015.
That was hilarious because if you remember, like the guy walked out for Williams with the tyre, and like you actually saw him on camera walk out with the tyre, looked at the rim, went, "Oh," and walked back. It's like, no, you're the one with the right tyre. Someone's picked up the wrong one.
Just then they go 1, 2, 3. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
where
not
does
needed.
this fifth one go then? Rob.
Yeah. No, but at least they changed the tyres over fairly quickly, and then they got a penalty for having the wrong tyre.
Yeah.
On. But they, yeah, it was. Danny Ricciardo came into the pitch, you may remember, and he came into the pit box. There was nobody even waiting for him. They were all sat in the garage watching TV. They didn't even notice on the cameras that he was in the pit lane. It was just a case of, oh my God, he's there.
Whereas, we'll come to this bit later in the season, but Verstappen, when he came in, they realised he was coming in when he was halfway down the pit lane.
And still stopped quicker than that.
And it was about 2 seconds longer than a normal stop, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it wasn't
Yeah.
that bad. It was all right. He didn't lose too much time. But obviously they learned their lesson from what happened in Monaco. So that unfortunately, I think, well, definitely, it was a Red Bull throwaway.
it cost Danny
which-
Rick a win.
It did.
I think the thing as well that to remember is it was probably I can't think of another one, but it was probably Red Bull's only real fuck up of the year. Monaco, you know.
I
were-
don't know. There's the Max touring round and screwing things up.
That was that
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
Yeah. This was, of course, also the race where we started to see Sauber completely falling apart. Because cars tend to fall apart when they drive into each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they put out that embarrassing joint statement.
Yeah. Oh, we're best mates, really. It was a racing thing. We love each other. High five.
And Toto and Nico saw that and said, "That was brilliant. We should do a contract signing like that.
In both languages.
Looks so natural."
So yeah, Monaco was Monaco. I mean, it started interestingly in the wet and then got drier and drier and drier until it was a nice warm Mediterranean day.
Yeah.
And the race that things started to tip championship wise back into sort of Hamilton's favour, and then left Europe again and went to Canada.
I always enjoy the Canadian Grand Prix.
I like the circuit.
It's one of my favourites.
Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah. It's
Well, we'll take me back to when I'm happy. Can we go back to 2011?
We need that dreamy music again.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Insert harp here.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, another great turnaround for Hamilton's fortunes, because Rosberg only managed a 5th place. So he had a 7th in the last race and then the 5th in this one. And Hamilton won the race, as he has done in Canada quite a few times now. But it wasn't without incident, though. There was a bit of a wheel bump at the beginning between the two Mercedes going into that first corner. Hamilton pushed Rosberg a little bit wide. Rosberg got his line terribly wrong for the next 2 corners. I think it was the Red Bulls that pounced and took advantage. And it was kind of this stage of the season where you thought maybe Red Bull are closer to Mercedes than Ferrari.
I think it's when we realised that's what it was.
Yeah.
More than getting an idea for it. It was the beginning of us realising that there's problems within Ferrari.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I mean, in this particular race, Sebastian did manage to finish 2nd. So it wasn't all bad for them.
No, but what a theme. You know,
But there started to be a running theme
Yeah.
of Ferrari almost making it, but then not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint exactly where Ferrari started to go wrong this
Drawing
season,
board.
or was it just
Went wrong on the drawing board.
Was it just carried over from 2015?
I don't think there was anything hugely wrong. They just didn't capitalise on anything when there were chances to. So Red Bull spent a lot of the season doing better than their cars should have done.
Well, I think that's it, isn't it? I think that Ferrari, and given the drivers that they have as well, you could have took that the car and the drivers and gave them to pretty much any other team, certainly any other top team, and they would have done better with that package than Ferrari did.
Yeah.
You know, it was never the car, it was never the drivers, it was always the team.
The whole was less than the sum of the parts.
Sometimes it was Kvyat.
Yeah, that's a fair comment to make, I think.
Back to Europe. next.
Sort of.
Sort of Europe.
Which way do the planes fly when they go from Canada to Azerbaijan?
Well, it's in the northern hemisphere, so it's still anti-clockwise.
Anti-clockwise. Because not all... Because if planes...
Isn't that an urban myth?
Because don't planes fly when they go from the UK to the Middle East? They go clockwise round the globe.
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which way do they actually fly? Because if they go the other way, if they go past China to Azerbaijan, then how can Azerbaijan be classed as Europe?
I'm pretty sure they go over Europe to get there.
We have enough listeners now that there is at least one flat earther listening to us going mental at the minute.
There's enough of us on this podcast to think there's one suspected flat earther talking.
No.
It's a wall of ice, damn it!
It's an infinite plane!
So which direction does an infinite plane take to get from Canada to Azerbaijan?
It has to go in a straight line and it can't possibly do it without stopping once.
Basically what we're saying is Azerbaijan is about as much in Europe as Chile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. The European Grand Prix in Azerbaijan
Chile for tea.
changed its name for 2017 to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
Yeah, and they're holding it in Luxembourg.
At the Nürburgring. It was the return of the European Grand Prix, and we were excited to see what the Baku City Circuit was going to bring. Actually, a pretty good circuit and a good location.
Race.
Yeah, race was poor.
Well, pretty good circuit, except for the curbs, where they forgot to sort of bolt them down with the right length bolts, and people kept driving over them and breaking the cars.
I have a theory about this, and I think this year's Grand Prix will be a lot better. Because when you look at the car crash that was the GP2 race,
When they didn't know about the overtaking lines and things.
I think there was a drivers' meeting in the before the race where basically the drivers turned around and said, if we go out and do this, it's going to be awfully embarrassing. And I think all of the drivers pretty much were driving at 70% around that circuit, so not to make Formula One look stupid.
Yeah,
I think if we go to Baku next year with two teams fighting each other for a win,
that'd be a good race,
and maybe another team there, they're going to throw those fucking ideas right out the window and want to win a Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull got they struggled with tyres in Baku, didn't they?
Yeah,
horrifically so. They had to keep stopping for the harder tyre over and over again, so
which
it was slower.
What a weird thing for Red Bull to struggle with.
Yeah, they were harder and they were stopping for the harder tyre and slower anyway because they were on that tyre.
Hamilton struggled with his computers.
Yeah. Well, apparently both Mercedes drivers did, but Nico managed to fix it quicker than Lewis did.
He knows about turning it off and on again.
Apparently so. He must be some sort of IT engineer or something.
They couldn't say Control Z.
But no, I mean, Lewis only managed a 5th place finished in Azerbaijan, so it seemed to swing back Rosberg's way after he won.
Only because Lewis didn't know what to do and they couldn't tell him.
Couldn't tell him, man.
If I try this, will you tell me if it works? We can't do that.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out, we missed this actually just before on the Monaco thing we were talking about, but Sergio Perez got a second podium of the season in Azerbaijan.
He did. Qualified second, finished third behind Rosberg and Vettel.
Yeah.
And he had a storming weekend.
Yeah, he had a good season, Sergio Perez. He didn't quite keep up the performances of that ilk. But, I mean, again, I think we had to, as Lee was saying before, shenanigans in order for Sergio Perez to get his podiums. But well-deserved at the same time, because you don't just get a podium in a Force India by everyone else in front of you falling off the track. You've still got to race pretty hard.
Don't forget.
As Ferrari show.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to take advantage of the things
Force
that throw your way.
Force India did that brilliantly, and it was again another sort of turning point. It was here that the Williams' early statement of "we want to hold on to third place" was starting to look stupid.
Yeah,
because they not only could they not hold on to third place, they couldn't hold on to fourth place, and they were never looking. They were always looking over their shoulder and never at who was in front of them. We want to hold on to this third place from Red Bull. Hang on a second.
They didn't realise where they were.
Yeah, that's not what I wanted. If I was working for Williams or if I was an investor in Williams, I would not want to hear the words, well, we're trying to hold on to our third place from Red Bull. That team's behind us.
You want to hear something like what Force India said, where we're going to advance up the grid.
Yeah, exactly. We want to look forward. We want to hold on to our third place. We want to be attacking for second, is what she should have said. Claire Williams, that was.
Yeah. From a PR point of view, she got that spectacularly wrong. Now, you mentioned about the tyres. I'd forgotten about this. Lewis didn't start the race on 3 of the on all 4 tyres that he used in Q2 because he'd managed to wreck them.
Yeah, he had to find some that had done similar distance or something, didn't he?
Yeah. This is where I think you're right with the we're not going out full chat, because if we do, it's just we're going to run out of tyres by halfway through the race.
Yeah. See, the first of all, what I was going to say about Perez was, don't forget, one of his podiums is just the natural order of things, with the universe mocking Nico Hülkenberg.
Yeah.
But the other thing with Lewis, we're talking about the problems he had. Do you think they'd look back on that and go, we should have just told Lewis what to do as soon as the problem was there,
and taken a penalty,
took the 5-second penalty, and then carried on with our afternoon?
Looking
Possibly,
back,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, but
because at least they knew where they would have stood,
Yeah.
and it's possible Lewis could have maybe held on to a podium or something.
Yeah. I think it's a case of they didn't want to set a precedent because they wanted another team to be the first one to be penalised.
I argue that they did want to set a precedent, and they did that to show how stupid the rule was.
At least they got rid of the rule.
Yeah,
because I mean, there's been some daft titting about with the rules this season.
Because, I mean, there was an argument about as to whether or not it was a safety thing as well. I mean, you've got a driver who's driving, I mean, fair enough, the straight and back who's like super long. But when you've got a driver who's doing those kind of speeds, who's looking down at steering wheel trying to operate a computer rather than, because nobody in this radio can tell him which switch to put in what position, that's a safety issue.
people are being killed because people are playing Pokemon Go in the car.
Yeah, and Formula 1 drivers are being told to reset their computers whilst driving around at super high speeds.
The problem was he wasn't being told.
Well, yeah, this is it, yeah.
Cost me a fucking fortune to get a new bonnet or hood, to our American listeners.
Pokemon Go in your car?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
God.
Any idea what it's like trying to get children out of the fucking front grille?
Don't even.
No. Right, and then really back to Europe next.
Actual Austria. And the Red Bull Ring.
Controversial or what?
Well, yeah, Rosberg led, I think, all of the race. Lewis actually dropped down to third at one point. And was it actually Williams who were getting involved in the fight there with?
I think they were third and fourth.
Yeah, Williams were doing pretty good, I think, in Austria, and they got involved in the Mercedes fight for a little while, and then sort of Mercedes got close again towards the end, and then that last lap happened. Another Mercedes incident where, all right, we're a few races down the road now from Spain, where we thought Nico might have been at fault, and we resolved him because of racing incident, but can't be doing that kind of thing in a Formula 1 championship. And then he goes and makes the corner about half a mile wider than it needed to be. It was a bit of a naughty move from Nico Rosberg, really.
He tried to make the corner, he just forgot to turn the wheel. We've all done things.
Yeah, and
it's like being in too high gear to go around a corner, and all of a sudden you bog down a little bit. You just made a bit of a mistake.
The thing is,
it's the sort of mistake that you need to make to win world championships, though.
Yes,
Don't take the championship by being nice and playing fair.
No, quite right.
Tell that to Johnny Herbert.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you cast your mind back to when Mercedes first hit each other in Belgium 2014.
He hit me, man.
Yeah, Lewis came on the radio, Nico's hit me, man. Whereas here in Austria, and it was believable because it sort of looked like Nico drifted across a little bit and refused to get pushed out by Lewis, and they touched. But when Nico came on the radio and said, Lewis has hit me, everyone just went, shut up. We just saw what happened, you absolute fool. And if it wasn't for Sergio Perez putting his car in the barriers, Nico may have dropped more places. And I think he finished fourth in the end. And Perez ran out of brakes because that was another race where cars were being extremely hard on their brakes, and we had a couple of brake failures. Danny Kvyat in qualifying had that quite spectacular brake failure where he went over all of the curbs.
I think
that wasn't a brake failure. He went over all the curbs and shattered his rear suspension.
Oh, right, it's a suspension failure.
Given the point in the season for Danny, I think it was a suicide attempt.
Well, he wasn't doing so well at the time, was he? Old
Goodbye,
Danny Kvyat?
cruel world.
Yeah. I mean, we also saw Pascal Wehrlein score a point for Manor in Austria, which lifted the spirits of the Manor team right up until the end of the season.
Yes.
So, but yeah, kudos to them as well. Again, shenanigans, admittedly, but
shenanigans that Lee was happy about because it put Jensen back in the points.
Yes.
Yeah, it did. That was the race Jensen Button started on second as well, wasn't it? After all the penalties.
I think so. Yeah.
Jensen started second, and I think
he led laps, didn't he?
Qualified fifth fastest and started third.
Yeah, I think
he started second.
I think he was in the lead at one point.
Yeah, he did lead laps.
Possibly the second corner or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't for long.
Yeah,
it was long enough to make Lee happy.
Yeah, well, maybe.
And then, of course, we had
Nothing truly makes me happy.
the podium interview after the race,
which Lewis was quite nonchalant and said, "The people are booing you."
Yeah.
Oh no, hang on. That was with the strange person.
With the strange person who I think wins the award for the Eddie Jordan Award for shouldn't be allowed on TV again.
Eddie Jordan?
No, Naomi de Miguel.
Yeah, that's her.
The random Spanish presenter who they got to do the podium at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Honourable mention though for people that shouldn't be allowed on TV anymore in regards to Formula 1. Can we stick both the fucking Williams sisters in there as well?
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah.
No, I think there should be a regular feature.
And Martin Brundle has to ask them a question every week.
Yeah.
I reckon there should be a regular feature in a submarine with limited oxygen.
You're not a tennis fan then?
I'm not a dickhead fan. I'm not a fan of dickheads.
I mean,
but I thought you liked Eddie Jordan.
No, you don't. You didn't think that. No one as anywhere near me has ever thought, oh, that Lee, I bet he likes Eddie Jordan.
But I mean,
poking you with a sharp stick.
But they don't come across the best, do they? Let's be honest. When somebody asks you a question on the grid, and you, instead of just being like, "Oh no, sorry, I don't really know an awful lot about the sport. I'm just here with my friend Lewis Hamilton or whoever they're there with," and if they just said that, then that would have been fine.
Yeah.
But just sort of been like, "Oh no," and just turn your back away.
Yeah.
Because you're not sure who that person is, but they've got a microphone and a camera and they're asking you questions. And
they got Sky Sports, which probably give you some sort of sponsorship money at some point.
Yeah, just because it's got the F1 logo at the end, don't mean nothing. Still the same company.
It's not even a proper sport.
No, that's darts.
What?
Darts
isn't a sport. Darts is a game. Snooker's a game.
Yeah, it is.
On to Britain. The unexpected downpour. With Pascal Wehrlein wanting to start on mediums when it was flooding.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, Pascal Wehrlein elected to stay on. Well, wanted to start on mediums. Was it about half an hour before the race started, and they delayed the start by about 15 minutes.
Yeah,
this is great. This is like an actual walk down memory lane. This is great.
It was. It was during Martin Brundle's grid walk.
Yeah, but they were on their way to the front of the
grid, the Putin parade.
That's it, the Putin parade. That's what I was looking for. And so Pascal, what sort of times do you think you're going to start on? Mediums. And Carlos Sainz as well, wasn't it? Carlos Sainz Jr. I think wanted to start on mediums. Maybe you start on the wets and then switch to slicks in a couple of laps. So it was good banter between the Formula 1 drivers.
Yeah, and then we had 5 laps of safety car.
5 laps of safety car to clear the water, and then we got underway, and again Mercedes sort of almost just reasserting their dominance of being at the front. Rosberg was given a penalty for illegal radio use.
They had a 1-2 finish and ended up first and third.
Yeah, was it I think it was Max, wasn't it, in second, I believe.
Yes. Max was classified second because Rosberg's radio communication. This was the last race where
they told him to avoid 7th gear.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would explode.
Yeah, avoid 7th gear, Nico.
And apparently, exploding isn't a safety issue.
Yeah, this is the thing.
And having Keanu Reeves sat on your car was slowing him down.
Yeah, it was. But we've seen classic British Grand Prix in the past, and I don't think that was necessarily a classic. But Lewis managed. Was it his fourth win, which puts him level with Nigel Mansell and wins in Britain, I think. And Alan
his
Prost.
points also put him level with Nico Rosberg for the first time in the season.
Yeah. So the resurgence of Lewis Hamilton.
Segue there.
Yeah, good segue down. Well done.
Mentioned Nigel Mansell. He was actually the driver steward for that race.
He was. He usually is at Britain, and he's usually taken to other Grand Prix as well to be a driver steward.
But anything else major came out of that? I can't.
From the British Grand Prix,
Yeah.
I don't think there was really. I see Romain Grosjean retired. That wasn't because of brakes again, was it?
Probably was. There was. All we can hope for Haas for 2017 is they work out how to put brakes in the car that slow the car down, not by sending them into a barrier.
And that the front wing stays on, because if you remember the start of the season and practice and testing,
Every time the front wing we just thought that was Grosjean.
Yeah, but apparently it's a Haas thing.
Yeah, because Grosjean, even when he was with Lotus,
yeah,
his front wings used to fall off at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
Mainly because they couldn't afford screws.
Yeah, but I mean, when his front wings were falling off in Lotus, he was generally like they were sticking to the back of another car, weren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, he's either good or fast.
Yeah.
Right, Hungary was next up. Do you know what? I can remember next to nothing about the Hungarian Grand Prix.
I believe it was a fairly processional, quite boring race, the Hungarian race, because we were looking forward to an exciting Hungarian Grand Prix after what happened the previous year with all of the action going on in 2015. We were looking forward to a really exciting Hungarian Grand Prix, and we didn't really get it.
Oh, it was all the fuss over the monitors on the corners to stop to catch people going offline.
Was that when they first used
That's when they first used it, and people started losing laps. And we ended up with 6 drivers outside the 104% time, 107% time as well.
107, what, just because of the monitors being used, watching the cars going off the...
No, it was dry in circuit in qualifying.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
yeah, 'cause it pissed it down just before qualifying, and it was all the ones that went out late that managed to get the competitive times.
And you will remember Rosberg getting a fastest lap under waved yellows.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that now, yeah. At the end of qualifying.
Right at the end of qualifying, yeah.
Didn't do much for the race result, though, did it? Because I think Lewis won that one with Nico in second.
Yes.
It was pretty dominating result as well, wasn't it?
If I remember right, didn't Lewis kind of strong arm Nico off the track at the first corner? So he...
It was a second turn, wasn't it, I think?
Was it turn 2? Yeah.
It was the beginning of when it really did look like there was just no way Nico was going to win a championship.
It was starting to look that way because Lewis had cut that huge points deficit down. And did he have a small lead going into Germany?
6 points. 6
points going into Germany.
Oh, of course, there was the Ericsson crash in Q1 as well, where at one point it looked like he wasn't going to race because he went off and
destroyed his chassis.
Destroyed the chassis completely.
That was on the wave yellows that Rosberg was going fast under. Yeah.
Yes, that was it. But yeah, you could tell how much the track was drying because Rosberg's pole time was 14 seconds faster than his Q1 time.
Good Lord.
Yeah, 1:33.3 in Q1, 1:19.9.
Oh no, was it an Alonso crash that Rosberg was going faster?
It wasn't a crash, he just lost the back end and was parked on the straight facing the wrong way, if I remember right.
He was getting out of the car when Rosberg came round the corner on his fastest lap. I do remember it now.
Yeah.
Yes. Good old memory.
Yeah, but Rosberg didn't get any punishment for that because he'd actually passed the yellow that came out.
And he was slowing down.
And he was slowing. It showed on the telemetry that he was slowing down.
Yeah.
Not by enough, but he was slowing down for the corner.
Well, enough for the stewards to say, yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. But yeah, the yellow flag actually came out after or the yellow flashing light came out just after he'd passed it. And there wasn't one until the apex of the corner that he was slowing down to come into.
Right. So then we went on to Germany. It was a Hockenheimring this year.
It was the last German Grand Prix for 2 years.
No German Grand Prix.
No German Grand Prix in 2017.
It's mental, isn't it? Considering Mercedes.
Yeah. The thing is there was Formula One.
Although that mug I got has a German flag on it with all the 2017 calendar. It doesn't mention the date of the German Grand Prix, but just put all the dates on and stuck a German flag on, and an Indian one as well. So, anyone fancy the Indian Grand Prix again? No thought, not moving swiftly on.
How about Korea?
That's on it as well, actually.
So they've taken the
Turkey?
No, they haven't put the Turkish flag on.
So they've taken like the flags from like F1 2013
and the dates from F1 2017.
Yeah, and not really corresponded.
Yes,
fair enough. So German Grand Prix at the Hockenheimring, another win for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, and at the other end of the grid, this is where it looked like Rio Haryanto's days were numbered.
Yeah, the reports coming out that he'd lost some sponsorship for the second half of the season, or that they couldn't pay the money to Manor, so that the sponsorship wouldn't be on the car. Essentially, the people paying for his drive weren't paying
for his drive.
Yeah, that's how that works out. So
buyer's remorse.
And there was a lot of surprise that not paying the money meant he lost the drive.
Yeah, much like Pastor Maldonado in the beginning of the season. Well, no, you haven't given us the money, so we're not giving you the drive. And then Renault took the team over anyway. So.
This, of course, was the first race where all the radio rules were scrapped.
And it was a lot more, if I remember rightly, it was a lot more relaxed, the German GP, than previous races. Teams seemed to be quite happy with the way things were by the time we got to German Grand Prix. So it took, 12 races to get it right.
Fuck knows what's going to happen this year.
Chase Carey will bring some No, maybe not.
I think he's quite a clever man. And
but Bernie's still there. So
I reckon there'll be rules that the teams don't like at the start of the season, and they'll be gone by the end of the season. The rules, that is, not the teams.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on Sauber. More on that later. Well, it depends on Manor as well. More on that later.
Yeah. There's more Chase Carey as well. Remind me, I've got something. There was something I read about that.
Right, okay. But yeah, another win for Lewis.
Yep.
A fourth place for Nico, and all of a sudden, it's getting close to a 25-point gap between them. It was up to 19 points at the end of this race, and it was like, maybe it has swung in Lewis's favour, and this is the comeback now. And
then we had the break, mid-season break, which the news broke during the mid-season break that Lewis would be taking engine penalties in Belgium, or would he? Yes, he would. Or would he? Yes, he would. Or would he?
We had 3 weeks of pure speculation on this podcast.
I think I called it pretty fucking early.
What do you mean 3 weeks of pure speculation?
Just on that one subject. We had 52 weeks of pure speculation on other subjects.
Sometimes you just got to pull content out of the fucking ether.
Yeah, it was. I don't remember the German Grand Prix being particularly spectacular. I can't even remember why Nico Rosberg finished fourth and didn't manage to keep pace with Lewis. Did he have issues, gearbox replacement or anything?
No, I mean he started.
My memory is awful.
He started on pole, and he finished off the podium. He was slower than both Red Bulls.
Yeah,
and his teammate.
Yeah, and that's when it was sort of the Red Bulls could become quite pertinent in the championship fight between Lewis and Nico. They didn't, but they could have done, and it started to look like the championship swing towards Lewis was only going to grow bigger, and we were all wondering when the 43-point lead was going to be Lewis's rather than it being Nico's early on.
Yeah, and this of course was when Red Bull passed Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship as well.
Yeah,
and Ferrari. I'm trying to find an adequate description of how they were that week. They weren't at the races. Is the best one.
Yeah.
And they weren't at the races for the rest of the season from here on out, really, were they? Let's be honest. I think
and they
Vettel
were starting to talk about who to fire to.
Yeah, I think Vettel managed
right.
a podium, didn't he, in Italy, and I think again was it Abu Dhabi? He managed a podium.
Yeah.
So apart from that, it was kind of quite quiet really for Ferrari, and they sort of self-imploded from mid-season onwards. But I actually
managed a podium as well in which race was it? where Verstappen finished third?
Oh, Mexico.
Mexico, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, where Verstappen finished third, Vettel finished fourth, and Ricciardo finished fifth, but Ricciardo actually got third.
Vettel took the podium for third.
Yes.
If
Max took the green room.
If there's anything you can say about Formula One, is it doesn't get convoluted sometimes.
Oh, not in the slightest. It only gets convoluted when this happens and then that. No. So, summer break.
Summer break.
Factory shut down for.
Summer breeze.
I shouldn't have been wearing headphones when you hit that high note. The Doobie Brothers were on helium as well as other things.
Quite possibly. Being called the Doobie Brothers.
Well, yes. So the summer break, the factory shut down for just about all of August, and yet we get all these upgrades coming out in Belgium.
Yep. And
Strange that.
a
Yeah.
new driver for Manor.
Yes, Esteban Ocon. He was in DTM
I believe so.
before.
Yeah, he was essentially a
He was-
Pascal Wehrlein copy.
Yeah, he was the new Verline.
Yeah.
Who Mercedes had plucked out of DTM and put into a Manor.
Yes.
So they need someone to put in a Manor. Oh, we'll just get our latest DTM protege and stick him in there.
Managed to be Pascal Wehrlein without being a complete and utter twat, by the
Yes.
looks of it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this was the point in the season where haircuts started to matter more to Lee.
No.
No, that was much later on in the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I think it was Pascal's first retirement, wasn't it? Oh no, it wasn't. It was last year because it was your man that was driving for Manor, wasn't it? That's when haircuts started to matter.
2015.
Oh,
Yeah.
Roberto Meri.
Yeah,
With his floppy hair.
I
yeah.
forgot about Roberto Meri as well.
Now that is a head of hair.
And Will
Carry
Stevens with his Towie hair.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure about that.
No.
Still suited his head. Sometimes though you can ask for.
And he called Romain Grosjean a Muppet over team radio.
But, yeah, we had Lewis pootling around in Q1, knowing that he was going to take countless penalties.
Yeah.
This
This is Belgium we're still
This
talking
is Belgium.
about.
We're
yeah.
still on Belgium. Who else took engine penalties? Ericsson and Alonso.
Uh-huh.
Hamilton 15 places, Ericsson 10 places, and Fernando 35. Which going by
Which was still less ridiculous than 2015's penalties.
Yeah,
It was, yeah. Still
Yeah.
less ridiculous. But, I mean, it was amazing because that was the race that Alonso and Hamilton started on the back row of the grid.
the first race where it's been an all-world championship back row.
Yeah. Yeah. So, those two started on the back row. And if I remember rightly, Alonso followed Hamilton through quite far up the field and did quite well for himself, just following that Mercedes around for a few laps at the beginning. And
And
Lewis
then something very scary happened
in Belgium.
involving Kevin Magnussen.
Yes. There was that crash at the top of Eau Rouge, which looked like poor old K-Mag might have injured himself quite badly at one point. He was
Yeah.
hobbling along on one leg. Thought, well, has he broken his ankle or something? But no, he was.
Initially it looked far worse than that.
It looked far
Yeah.
worse when the collar on the car flew off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was bad. It wasn't Jacques Villeneuve bad though.
It wasn't far off.
Well, you can't say it wasn't Jacques Villeneuve bad. It wasn't Jacques Villeneuve and Ricardo Zonta bad because they had the exact same crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, both the BARs went upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't Jacques Villeneuve's album bad.
Nothing's Jacques Villeneuve's album bad. We were talking on the Patreon podcast about the cost of music and should it be given away. In the case of Jacques Villeneuve's album, don't even give it away.
People should be paid.
Yeah, you should be paid to take it off the hands.
Have you been forced to listen to Jacques Villeneuve music? If so, call Injury Lawyers for You.
Yeah, my ears have been injured by listening. They're offended. They're really offended. Anyway, back to Formula One.
Yes, yeah, we don't talk about that, baby.
Don't say it.
Yeah, I mean, Belgium. It's
Danny Rick's second place was pretty impressive. I mean, I know, fair enough. Like Lewis wasn't, was fighting his way up through the field most of the race, and still managed a third place. But if I remember rightly as well, at the end of the race, Nico Rosberg was told that Lewis had finished third, and he was extremely surprised. To Lewis, what?
Yes.
Third? Like expecting Lewis to be like, I don't know, 7th or 8th.
Yeah,
or
because
like
of
that.
I'm not sure he was even told. Didn't he get out of the car?
He got out of the car because they don't do the cool down lap in Belgium. They
That's right. Yeah, they came straight back in the pit.
They do a full 180-degree turn at La Source and
Parked the car. Suru was parked in third and just
did a double
massive
take.
double take.
Yeah, I think for a second he thought Lewis had finished second. I think he was looking at where the boards were. What? Oh, right, third.
Oh, sorry, I got the grid penalties wrong. Lewis and Fernando were both penalised 60 places in the end.
60.
So that is 2015 stupid.
Yes.
No, not quite. Didn't McLaren have a 130 place penalty for Jenson Button or something during one race?
That's why Jenson can't race this year.
Wasn't that in Austria 2015? They said he was going to have to start in Switzerland.
Yeah. And then the last race of the European season, Ferrari's stomping ground of Italy.
Yeah, which, again, as I just alluded to then, Sebastian Vettel managed a podium, which was more than the Tifosi really could have asked for.
Well, no, they ask for a win and they demand one every time, and they rarely get one.
It's funny, though, isn't it? Well, you say they rarely get one. When you look at Nando, when he was in Ferrari and stuff like that, they do seem to, even in bad seasons...
Applaud the driver who does well.
No, but they seem to look into a good Italy.
Yeah, it's the home track advantage thing, isn't it? You always see, well, not always, but you tend to see British drivers doing well in Silverstone.
Yeah,
it's the home Grand Prix, the home advantage thing.
Because I think there was a couple, and that's the other one as well. Because didn't Sebastian win it? Not last year, the year before.
In Red Bull?
Yeah. No, in Ferrari.
No, he hasn't. I don't think he won the
Italian
Grand Prix.
last Ferrari to win the Italian Grand Prix was Fernando in 2010.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. And then before that, Schumacher, Barrichello.
Yeah. No, Massa? Has Massa not won one?
No, I don't think he's won for Ferrari in Italy, I don't think.
No, he hasn't.
Did he? I think he may have finished second to Sebastian Vettel in 2008 in the in that wet Italy where that Toro Rosso win, Sebastian Vettel's first ever win in Toro Rosso.
Actually, to prove your point of Ferrari always do well in Italy even when the car or the team's terrible. Gerhard Berger in 1988. The late 80s Ferrari was just...
The same as... Oh, did anyone see that the 92 Ferrari, one of the 92 Ferraris was for sale recently? They was asking something ridiculous for it, like £900,000. It came without an engine.
And you can't carry your shopping in it. The fuel economy is rubbish.
No. And it was Ivan Capelli and Jean Alesi's 92 F1 car, and it was one that Capelli called the worst car he's ever driven. Yeah, Capelli wasn't part of the Ferrari team in '93.
Wonder why that was a thing.
It's always been a thing with Ferrari, isn't it? We're talking about them sort of imploding now. You know, most of the way through 2016, when it looked like they could have won races early on in the season, and it got to the point in where Marchionni was like, "Well, if we don't win a race this season, it's a disaster."
Yeah.
You might regret saying that, Sergio.
Yeah, don't say it, baby.
Yeah, exactly. No, too late. Marchionni already said it. And I actually think he's the root of Ferrari's problems. Him constantly turning up and putting pressure on people who don't really need to be in under any more pressure.
Well, when he turns up to the strategy meetings and to the mechanics meetings, it's going to put the pressure on. I mean, everyone describes him as a micromanager.
Yeah, but what's he doing?
Is he really small?
He's Italian, probably.
He's not. He's Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. He smokes 80 a day, and they say smoking stunts your growth.
That Marchionni or Arriva Bene?
Arriva Bene sells him the cigarettes.
Right. That's okay. That's how they made their millions.
Yeah.
After last year, Arriva Bene's smoking heroin now.
But not in Singapore because that's where he gets fined.
Which is the next race on the...
Which is the next race on the calendar.
Yes.
The traditional night race, which may not be happening for much longer.
No, they've decided. Is it Singapore and Malaysia? Both of them have decided not to renew their contracts. Malaysia have definitely decided not to, and Singapore it's all up in the air.
Bullshit.
So the 2018 Malaysian Grand Prix is the last one, or 2017?
2018, I think, but that's subject to the whims of Bernie if he's still commercial manager this time next year when
he won't
calendar
be.
comes out.
And I call bullshit. All it is the two circuits essentially getting together because they're so close to each other as well.
Oh yeah, there's only about 170 miles I think between Singapore and
strength in numbers. One with my father's actually going to Singapore and Malaysia next year, back to back.
This year.
Yeah, so
2017.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Nice.
Mm.
But
For the races.
yes, and but like I all I can think it is just they're just lobbying to get a better deal, and so they fucking should. You know, it's the
Well, yeah, I mean
that's what anyone would do it with anything in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
Malaysia have said that the cost of holding a Formula One event is just ridiculous, spiraled out of control. So give us a better deal or we're not holding the race. We're not renewing the contract under those conditions. So,
but that's bullshit as well. You know, the thing about it costing too much to put the race on for it to be worth doing.
well, they didn't fill the stands in Malaysia, did they? Which is not good.
No, it's not. But don't forget that
They have to put the prices up for the fans because they're having to pay out so much to hold the race.
And don't forget, it's still it's still well attended race because you do get quite a lot of Australians that go to Malaysia for Formula One. But
Isn't it closer to get from Perth to Malaysia than it is to get from Perth to Melbourne?
Not quite.
No,
they're
it's
a little
close.
bit. Melbourne is a little bit closer than Singapore, but I think flight time is about the same to Singapore as it is to Melbourne. So, you know, a lot of Danny Ricciardo fans tend to go to Singapore.
yeah, Singapore and Malaysia. Well, sorry, Malaysia is a lot cheaper than Melbourne.
And also you're 170 miles away from each circuit. I think they're only 170 miles apart. So if you are going to do back-to-back races, as your dad's doing, Lee, then Singapore, Malaysia would probably be the place to do it because they've been so close.
Short of Austin and Mexico.
Yeah, Austin and Mexico are pretty close as well, but not 170
Not
miles
170
away.
miles.
Close,
Yeah, the thing you've got to remember as well about these countries that come out and say, "Oh, it's not worth us putting a Formula One race on because it costs too much money." Let's not forget that, especially like Malaysia, they built a circuit from the ground up to host a Formula One race. So at some point they decided there was enough money going to come out of this to build an entire world-class Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah.
So now it's there and in situ. I don't believe it's not worth doing.
You know, they've attracted lots of other sports to Malaysia as well. Don't forget, like MotoGP.
Yeah. That's grand. But that's what that track was fucking built for. Was for Formula One.
Yeah.
The fact that they can race MotoGP on it afterwards.
Well, it's a Tilke design
grand.
circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But of course, the most important thing that happened at the Singapore Grand Prix was the debut Formula Lee race.
Was it?
It was the first one with points.
There was a trial in Italy.
There was a trial in Italy.
But then the Singapore was the first one.
The first one with actual points.
Formula Lee.
Must sort a T-shirt out for Derek.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, you need to design something.
Derek Schleicher, Formula Lee champion 2016.
Oh, and guess what? He won this race.
He did. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I struggled, if I'm honest, with Formula Lee for the first couple of races until I got into the swing of things.
I struggled at the end.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because other games came out.
Other games came out, and I've never been. I've always been better at the sort of middle of the season races.
If you're new to the podcast, by the way, Formula Lee is Lee's sort of Formula One challenge on the Codemasters
Global
F1.
Championship. I like the term.
Yeah, F1 2016 Codemasters either on the PlayStation, Xbox, PC. What else? It's available on tablet as well.
There is an iOS version, but we haven't tested that out to see if it's
comparable.
We won't do that.
Okay.
So it's PC, Xbox, or PlayStation.
Yeah.
And basically, we set or rather Lee sets a circuit. Usually the one that Formula One's going to with gives us a car to drive and conditions, whether it's nighttime or wet,
Which vary depending on how much he hates us that week.
Yep.
And then he tells us to
given
set a
how
fastest
this
lap.
year's going, I can see a
Manor in the wet.
wet, dark season.
And we all put our best lap time in, and Ed Forsyth finishes 11th.
Yeah, Esteban Gutierrez.
Yeah.
Nice to see.
So yeah, I mean, we'll probably be setting up, or Lee will be setting up something to do with Formula Lee.
Oh, there'll be Formula E this year, and we can do a proper championship this year.
Are we going to do Lee season testing soon?
We might do Lee season testing.
Lee
soon.
season testing.
We'll do Lee season testing when the testing starts.
Okay. So yeah, anyway, back to the 2016 season. Singapore.
Again, on the face of it, it was the perfectly normal race.
Yes.
If you look at the whole season. Rosberg won.
Ricardo finished second.
Finished second. Gutierrez finished 11th. And Grosjean's brakes failed.
Yeah, and Lewis finished third. And
Hülkenberg didn't do as well as we thought he would.
He did get up to 5th at one point, but he was facing backwards with only 3 wheels.
That's, yeah. Did he even cross the start line?
I don't think he did.
No, he wasn't quite past the start
One
line.
of his wheels did.
No, it was something to do with was it Carlos Sainz that he was involved in the incident with? But Sainz managed to continue with a broken side pod, and the stewards told Sainz, "You've got a pit to fit that flappy bit of side pod." So he brought Toro Rosso into the pits, and they got the duct tape out, stuck it down, and sent him back out. Go on, off you go. So yeah,
was that the one where they gave him the black and orange flag?
Yeah, I think so.
And he said, "Hang on, am I into my pit window yet? I'm not going to stop until I'm in my pit window."
He was only he was 2 laps from his pit window, and he had 3 laps to come in.
Yeah.
So he hung it on until they could do everything at once.
Yeah, but he had floor damage as well, didn't he? Which I think hampered his race.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he could have had quite a successful Singapore Grand Prix. There was a do not start in Singapore, was there not?
Grosjean is down as doing no laps due to failed brakes.
Brake failure?
As a do not start?
As a did not start. The brakes weren't fit to start the race.
There we go, then. So Haas's problems continued well into the late season with braking. They did trial, didn't they? New brakes at Brazil.
Yeah, from a different manufacturer.
Just to see if that was the problem, despite the fact that every other manufacturer is using the same brakes.
Yeah, everybody else uses Brembo brakes, and Haas decided to change them, and couldn't really find out in Brazil because nobody was actually going fast enough.
No.
And they weren't getting warm enough because there was a lot of water being sprayed at them constantly.
Yeah.
Malaysia.
Now, for me, I know other people say differently, but for me, this is the point where the championship was lost for Lewis Hamilton.
And
became Nico Rosberg's.
Yeah. If he'd have won that race, I know it sounds stupid because of the points difference, but he would have won the championship.
Yeah, this is one I remember quite fondly because it was such an eventful race where the first turn, lap 1, turn 1, Maldonado challenge, if you will. Nico Rosberg was turned backwards by Sebastian Vettel and found himself at the back of the pack, and it was like, oh no, this was a race where Nico really needed to pull the points back if he was going to do anything to the championship to Lewis. And we saw Nico trying to fight his way through the field,
doing it quite successfully as well.
Doing it quite successfully. He kept his head, actually kept calm. We know this Mercedes was pretty bad at following cars, but Nico seemed to make it quite made an easier job of it than Lewis did in Belgium coming through the field. And when Lewis was coasting out front and all of a sudden his engine let go, we saw Nico on the podium. I think Danny Rick won the race, did he?
Danny Rick won from Verstappen in second.
Yeah, Danny Rick and Verstappen first and second.
Although I do seem to recall Verstappen wanting to be allowed to push.
They were. This was the race where the 2 Red Bulls were alongside each other through that sweeping S bend in that section in Malaysia. Sweeping S bend coming into quite a tight corner, and it was just like, wow, we haven't seen actual side by side racing like this for at full speed for a long time.
Yeah.
And Danny Rick actually got the better of Max Verstappen. Max was told to hang back a bit, and for once he listened to his team.
I think he'd probably burned his tyres out by that point. Couldn't push
following
much more.
so closely. Yeah. And Nico managed to finish third, which gave Nico the huge advantage going into the last few races of the season.
From Lewis almost having a race advantage, it swung by Malaysia to Nico being 23 points ahead.
Yeah, that's it. Not to discount what Nico Rosberg had done, because from Belgium he'd won almost every race, and he had won every race up to Malaysia, and what was looking like a good swing towards Lewis Hamilton at mid-season went back towards Nico Rosberg, and this for me was the tipping point.
Well, the thing is, even after Lewis broke that lead down and still finished third after his engine penalties, Nico did well to keep his head. He did well to keep pushing forward.
It was actually when we started to give Nico a lot more respect.
The Now, I'd
some-
be careful of your words.
Some respect. Is that better? A modicum?
Modicum of respect.
Don't know. I don't.
Less disrespect.
I think it's the respect word I'm having the problem with, not the quantity of it.
Also in Malaysia, worth pointing out is where Jolyon Palmer started to sort of come good as well with his late season surge. Scored a point.
Yeah, managed to get his first point of the season.
Because he was rookie man earlier on in the season, as in, you're making all the rookie mistakes and aren't that good yet.
Yeah,
and then suddenly it's contract negotiation time.
And he pulls his finger out and does pretty well.
Yeah, he goes from accelerating on a wet zebra crossing in Monaco to actually getting a point.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in him next year. Like,
just to see what you can do. I mean, this Renault, I'm interested in the engine tokens. I think Renault are going to capitalise on that. Because there's no engine tokens now. You can develop the engine in season, so long as you. It's similar with the tyres. You have to submit what engine chassis combination you're going to use before a few races in advance. So with Renault being such a big player in world motorsport anyway, I'm looking forward to how much money they can just plough into developing this engine and chassis as well, and getting their first properly Renault designed car onto the grid, because I think
they're talking about quite a radical engine redesign, aren't they?
Yeah, they think that it's possible to get a lot more horsepower than even was projected back end of last year. Renault think they could have the best engine on the grid.
Am I right in thinking that the Renault provide the engines for Formula E?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. The motors, you mean, the electric motors? Because all that powers a Formula E car, to my knowledge, is
magic.
No, it is a motor.
Four little elves.
It is a motor charged by
elastic bands.
Charged by a generator, but the generator.
Pull the cars
But you've got to do it loads of times.
Zun, 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 zun.
Renault provided all the Formula E engines for the first season,
right?
But it's now open.
Oh, so Renault are still making their own Formula E engines then? Or,
Well, the
I
Edams.
assume the Renault Edams team.
and whoever is a customer, I suppose, of Renault.
Yeah, but there's 3 suppliers now.
Right, that's cool. But it still goes with what I'm thinking. I wonder if there's anything on the hybrid side where we're crossover. Yeah, I wonder if they can bring anything that they do with their
Formula
fully
E
electric
technology into Formula One. Well, now that would be
basically pumping diesel into their electric engine to see if it goes faster.
The electric engine is.
I know the answers to that question, and I'm not even a Formula One engineer.
The electrical engine in the Formula E car is just a big motor that you would find in anything. To be quite honest with you.
No, but it's the harvesting and the power and the battery cells. That
it is, but
all those things going on and essentially delivering that energy.
The batteries are powered in Formula E by a liquid fuel.
Magic.
No, they're powered by a liquid fuel that's so clean you could apparently drink it.
I would not want to try.
No, I wouldn't want to either.
And Twitter.
And Twitter, yes, it's powered by Twitter. Fan boost!
So Renault will have the best engine in Formula 1 next season if you ask them to on Twitter.
Yes. Hey, just quickly, we're in the middle of a Formula E season right now. Yeah. When's the next race?
February.
Is it really?
Right, yes.
Good.
February.
We haven't had a race for 5 weeks.
I have no fucking
idea.
And
there isn't another race for another 5 weeks.
Right. And then isn't there not a race after that till like July?
It's something... Yeah, I think
this year is very different to the first two. They've changed the calendar completely. I don't know what's going on.
Formula E is like a really, really pretty girl. The fact that she treats you really badly, she doesn't let you know what's going on, and then when you actually sit down with her, there's not a lot going on there.
Yeah, the Formula E calendar. The next race is the 18th of February, then the 1st of April, then the 13th of May. Oh, and then the 20th of May. And then the 10th of June.
That's not too bad then.
It's not.
We're putting them down a little.
A lot.
So yeah, after Malaysia. Well, yeah, Malaysia. Is there much more to say about Malaysia?
Not really a great deal. Just sort of excellent recovery drive from Rosberg. After the steward said that he caused the collision with Vettel.
Did they give him a penalty for it?
He got 10 seconds, but it didn't affect his position
for the second time this year.
Yeah. Then the snooze fest that was Japan. I really struggled to stay awake towards the end of this race.
Well, it was an early morning start, wasn't it, for us?
It was.
The Japanese Grand Prix.
But now I've got the new mugs and the new coffee machine.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine this year.
We'll be all right. Yeah, it was just... Where to start with Japan? It wasn't really... I mean, positive that it was one of the few races, again, where all cars that started the race finished the race.
But Lewis... having the bad start problems.
Lewis having the bad start problems.
He was on the wet side of the grid.
Yeah, he was behind Max Verstappen for... Well, he's behind both Red Bulls, wasn't he, for a majority of the race?
Yeah.
Eventually got ahead of Danny Rick. He was behind Max Verstappen and then had that last lap or penultimate lap assault on Max Verstappen, and Max did the moving under braking, which brought in the Verstappen law.
Yeah.
No moving under braking. Right, you're allowed one move, but moving under braking is not it. And because he'd been guilty of that a few times previous in the season, and it was after there was a driver's briefing before the following race, I think, in America, but it followed on from the incident with Lewis and Max in Japan. And that really put paid to Lewis's title hopes when Nico won the race and Lewis finished third behind Max Verstappen, extending Nico's lead to was it 33 points?
33 points by this stage.
So then at this point, as we well know, Nico could afford to finish second to Lewis for the rest of the season and still come out as champion.
Which he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was quite a boring race. It was Grosjean's turn to finish 11th, rather than Gutierrez, I believe, in Japan. And
I don't remember it.
No, there wasn't an awful lot going on in the Japanese Grand Prix, to be honest. McLaren wanted to be quite strong at the Honda's home race, and they weren't for the second year running.
I think our major achievement for the Japanese race was introducing the phrase "full kit wanker" to our American listeners, who picked up on it with great aplomb.
I think that might be the greatest achievement of the entire year.
Yeah,
yeah, we did. Yeah, our American during the live blog, wasn't it?
Yeah,
somebody sent us a who was it? I can't remember. We'll have to look back through the old Twitter, but. Somebody sent us a picture of a Japanese fan dressed as Kimi Raikkonen, wasn't it? I think.
Yes.
Helmet and full. Oh no, it was actually that's when we introduced it. But the full kit wanker came in for the American Grand Prix when somebody sent us a picture of the man dressed as the full Mr. American man.
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam, that's his name. Yeah, dressed as Uncle Sam. Does this count as a full class? Does this class as a full kit wanker? Yes. Yes, it does.
We'll move on to Austin because Japan really didn't have a great deal to talk about. Austin, what can we say? Great circuit,
wonderful race,
absolutely brilliant race. Lewis was. He had the bit between his teeth.
Yeah.
He was going for it.
Yeah, he had to really, because the only thing that could stop Nico from winning the title now was a failure or something along those lines that would swing it back Hamilton's way. So he had to have the hammer down, excuse the pun, all the time. Otherwise, if Nico got ahead of him at any point, it was game over completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and of course here we had Max Verstappen with a masterclass on how to bollocks up a race for your teammate.
But how to completely ruin your teammate's race. Come into the pits when the team don't ask you to.
Fantastic pit stop, as we said before.
Yeah, fantastic recovery. They learned from Monaco as to when to not be ready for pit stops.
Always be ready for pit stops.
And then was it the following lap or 2 laps later that Verstappen was suddenly touring down the back straight, which is at least halfway around the circuit.
Yeah.
And it's a long lap.
Yeah.
And he toured all the way down there. Could have pulled over at any point and then decided that he was going to tour around the stadium section and then the next part of the lap as well. And that was starting to get a little bit embarrassing. And then just before the pits, he pulled over.
Now, the excuse or the reasoning given was that was where the back gate
of the paddock
was, so his car could be wheeled straight into the paddock. But virtual safety car,
which Mercedes pitted under,
yeah.
which meant that there was no undercut for Danny Rick after he just pitted.
Yeah, it saves you like 16 seconds, I think, doesn't it, pitting on a
Something like
virtual
that.
safety car.
And so Danny Rick had just pitted, so essentially Max ruined the race for his teammate. Whereas if he just pulled off the circuit, there would have been no need for a virtual safety car, and Danny Rick could have got involved in the Lewis-Nico title fight. Unlikely.
Well, I don't think he'd have beaten Lewis, but I think he'd have beaten Nico.
He could have done, yeah,
and that would have swung the championship.
Yeah. Nico saved himself 16 seconds by managing to pit under the virtual safety car. Danny Rick finished 15 seconds behind Nico.
Yeah.
So it shows that they were on a similar pace, and he could have actually taken that second.
Yeah.
Which would have shaken things up.
Would have seen a bit more than a shoey, I think.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
Mexico up next.
We've already spoken about the controversial third place. The three drivers got third place.
The third place that wasn't again.
Verstappen's
There's a bit of understatement on Wikipedia here.
Go on.
What does it say? The race was overshadowed by a late incident that saw Verstappen run wide and cut part of the circuit, triggering an angry response by Sebastian Vettel.
That wasn't just angry. That was thermonuclear.
And it wasn't just the running wide, it was the pushing Vettel back into Danny Rick's clutches.
Yeah.
It was a strategic move.
Yes.
Which is a bit naughty, really.
This is the race that gave the stewards the most work of the season.
The FIA bleep machine must have been very hot at the end of the day.
They ended up not broadcasting half of it. We've all now seen the transcripts of what was said.
Yeah, but it was Red Bull, not Max, that decided to do that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, and then Vettel got a penalty for impeding Danny Ricciardo when Ricciardo had a clear chance to overtake.
I'm not sure about any of that, and there's a little bit of me thinks that the only reason that Max got penalised the way like he did was because there was pressure to get a Ferrari on a podium because of the way the season had gone.
Well, it got taken away from Vettel anyway.
Yeah, no, I know, but I think that's what was going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was yet more evidence of fucking power plays.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was no doubt about that, and Red Bull were pretty much wrapping up their place over Ferrari by that point as well. So I mean, it was in Red Bull's best interests not to let Sebastian Vettel get and sort of get Max to breathe down. Sorry, get Danny Rick to breathe down the neck of Sebastian Vettel, hoping that Seb would make a mistake. He did make a mistake, and Danny Rick ended up with a third place. So,
yeah, I mean, it guaranteed him third place in the championship.
Yeah.
It's just, looking back on it, it's a hard one to call about what penalty should or shouldn't have been given.
Because don't forget as well, Lewis Hamilton cut the first corner on the first lap in Mexico.
Yeah.
Which was, he kind of looked like he was trying to make the corner, trying to come back onto the circuit, onto that concrete runoff, and then thought, no, I'm not going to make it. And then went straight on to turn 3 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And Nico Rosberg did something kind of similar because he had a first turn incident with Max Verstappen as well.
Yeah, something tells me we're going to be seeing the first 3 corners in Mexico get reprofiled.
Because of the wide cars coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, they're essentially the same. They weren't part of the track, the what's it called, the refurbishment, if you will, of the track that happened before Formula 1 returned there in 2015, because those 3 corners are still exactly the same as the circuit was in '92.
Yeah.
When they last raced there.
I think it's a shite circuit.
I quite like it, actually.
I just think it's boring.
Yeah. Which is why you made us drive it in the wet in Formula E.
Yeah.
It doesn't lead to good racing, but
No. Good podium.
It really looks like it'd be a great race to go to actually be there.
Yeah, to be as a fan. Yeah. It's a spectacle.
Yeah, in the arena area, whatever they call it.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, no, yeah, that'd be grand.
The baseball stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, that arena area is it's one of the things I don't like about the track, because I think that the whole idea of having a purposely designed section of a circuit with stands around it to essentially slow the cars down to single file so people can look at them properly. Right, fuck that. That's like
It was more for
that's
safety
so
to do with the outside of the circuit, because the circuit used to go round that baseball stadium.
Yeah, but I'm sure they could have done something that was more racing about it, rather than have what is essentially a fucking
Processional
showroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, although that section of the circuit causes a hell of a lot of confusion when you're watching it on TV
Because of the smoke.
because of the smoke coming from the barbecues
Yeah.
in the incredibly posh section.
Yeah.
where it's like $1,000 per
For a barbecue.
per person.
Yeah.
to be in the barbecue section.
Even Sky TV commentators got a bit confused by it at one point, because they saw a camera looking at some smoke. Was that somebody off the circuit, or was that just...
No, it was a steak.
Yeah, it was just, just somebody...
A mistake.
Hey!
Jesus.
But then somewhere where we didn't see any smoke because mainly it was too wet, Brazil.
Yeah, very entertaining race.
From before the start.
From before the start. Which start?
One of them.
One of the starts. Grosjean binned it into the barrier.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Yeah,
of.
Grosjean binned it into the barrier.
Was that another brake problem?
No, it was wet.
Was that just it was just a
That was
Grosjean
just
problem?
a lot of
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, do you remember Brazil when it was like essentially
Oh,
inches of
yes.
water?
So,
and
no, yeah, I know it was rain. I just couldn't remember whether it was Haas or rain.
No, it was Grosjean.
I think it was cold tyres, lots of water.
Lack of talent.
I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah. Lewis Hamilton's winning time of 3 hours, 1 minute, 1.335 seconds.
Yeah, but there were red flags. 2 red flags, weren't there?
Yeah, I actually, when the race started, I was in Liverpool, and the race finished by the time I'd flown from Liverpool and drove up half the length of the Isle of Man to get home.
Yeah.
And it was still going on.
Yeah, and that's what a good... Was it 40-minute flight for Liverpool?
About a 40-minute flight, and I was flying Flybe, so there was a delay.
Yeah, and you have to fly through the shock horror, and you have to fly through go through all the airports as well, which takes forever. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Going through airports is the worst part of flying.
Yeah, we did get an email from one of the listeners who works at Liverpool Airport saying he's going to make sure that Formula One does get shown in departures from next year, which is just as well, because I'm going to miss the 2017 Brazilian Grand Prix because I'm going to the same rock festival on the same weekend again. 3rd year on the trot, I'm going to miss this race and have to watch it on catch up when I get home.
Maybe not go to the rock festival.
I've already booked tickets.
Well,
Get a later flight home so you can sit somewhere in Liverpool and watch
It's a
it.
Sunday. It's the last flight back.
I find it amazing that you're missing stuff that's going on in this year to watch people that played 100 years ago.
No. Airborne are headlining this year. They are very current.
Are they?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah, they just sound old.
Sure. I think 2001 want the band back.
I'm also going to be seeing Y&T, who will be on their 43rd anniversary tour, but that's beside the point. Anyway, what can you say about the whole event apart from are they going to provide wetsuits for next year?
Brazil.
It was a great
Brazil,
race
yeah.
to watch.
It was.
It was the late surgence of Max Verstappen, the save from Max Verstappen, the
Driving.
The Felipe
general
Massa,
driving,
Yeah.
Felipe Massa's retirement.
which now looks like it's
Not.
redundant, which for me is the biggest mistake ever, because that was the best way to walk
Yeah.
out. I know he had one race after that, but
Well,
everyone would have
so-
remembered Massa's walking down the pit lane,
I think it's-
closed pit lane, Brazilian flag aloft.
Second best. If he'd won, that would have been slightly
Yeah.
better. I think he would have preferred that.
No,
There's
I
a
think
bigger
this was
mistake.
better.
There's a bigger mistake than him coming back after that.
Mm?
Williams rehiring him.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's the biggest mistake for him and for Williams, I think.
I think he's probably the most sensible option.
Too safe, I think.
For given the drivers that are available in the timescales, I don't see who else would be a better choice.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I still think that we can have a chat about 2017 in a minute, can't we? But I still think that maybe not Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah, of course, Daniel Ricciardo would be a great idea. But
Yeah, he'd be a better driver for Williams.
Dear Mr. Red Bull.
Di Resta, I think, would deliver the same results that Massa would deliver.
And not ask $5 million for.
Not ask $5 million, but with the potential of doing better now and again.
But But what kickbacks will Williams be getting from Bernie, who wants a Brazilian on the grid?
I don't think they'll get anything. Not from Bernie now.
I don't know. He's still got some sway.
Yeah, he's got sway, but he's got no vested interest in doing that.
No, but Brazil is the single largest TV market for Formula 1.
Yeah, but I don't believe that Bernie's got any vested interest to do that for them anymore.
They need a Brazilian driver on the grid.
But he said he wants. I think
FOM do.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think. Yeah, but I'm sure they want a Brazilian driver on the grid, but I just can't see Massa being that draw. To be perfectly honest, I know it was all grand and stuff like that when he crashed, and the crowd loved him and they were clapping for him. But I still don't. I don't believe that he's that guy. You know, he's not the Brazilian guy. I don't think he ever has been through his career.
Yeah, he has, definitely. In 2008 when he was...
Yeah, it's okay. 2008 when he almost won a championship. But when it hasn't been 2008, I don't think anybody really gives a fuck about Massa.
He's at least as Brazilian as Barrichello was.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but whoops, shit, sorry about that. But certain drivers like Germany haven't taken to Vettel.
Or Rosberg.
Yeah, well, who knows about Rosberg? But that's what I mean. I don't think it's not like a Jensen or a Lewis where Britain took to both of those.
Yeah. Brazil took to Massa though.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Chris,
I
I'd
don't
agree
know.
with you, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not having it like.
He's from Sao Paulo.
Oh no, I'm sure. Well,
they
grand.
They absolutely love Brazilian drivers in Brazil, and you know, commercially, it's a very big thing for Formula One to have a Brazilian driver on the grid.
Well, you want a fucking driver for every circuit you go to, really. I accept that, but I wonder whether a NASA in that car would be better for Formula One,
possibly,
than a Massa. I think if NASA was in that car, I think Brazil would give more of a shit about NASA.
Rather
because he's younger,
Massa,
and because regardless of whatever you want to say about NASA, he had a long career in Formula One, but we can't. It's bordering on a failed career, in a way. There's always that he's always looked at as a number two.
As it might have been.
Yeah.
All of his wins came during his time at Ferrari. I think he had 11 wins in total.
Yeah.
6 of those were in that 2008 season.
Yeah.
So outside of that 2008 season is, let's say, 15 years in Formula 1, 14 years in Formula 1. That's 5 wins.
Yeah.
During his time at Ferrari.
But the thing is, Brazil loved Barrichello.
Yeah.
I think they like Massa.
No, I think Massa's on a par with Barrichello.
No, I don't. I can't see it. Like I don't think so. Not in my eyes. Not the way I think of Massa. I don't think it's the way the world thinks of Massa.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
So Barrichello was a number 2 because he was in the same team as Schumacher. I think Barrichello, in a different situation, could have been a world champion. Massa was always destined to be number 2.
Don't agree with you about Barrichello.
No.
He was in the best car on the grid.
Yeah.
When Button was also in the best car on the grid.
Oh yeah, but I think that he was already broken by then. I mean, if his career had gone differently. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think Massa, especially once Schumacher retired, I think Massa had more of an opportunity to do something, and Ferrari, be it Massa's fault or not, didn't believe in Massa at all. As much as I think they believe in other drivers. I don't know.
Well, they certainly believe more in Alonso.
Well, absolutely sensible.
So yeah, the Brazilian Grand Prix, as we were talking about, 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix,
a wet marathon,
pretty memorable.
Pretty memorable, yeah. Nothing untoward at the front. Lewis Hamilton said he just had to sort of just tickle the car around and get home. Said it was difficult because it was wet, but there were no incidents really for him to talk.
He just had to make sure the rudder was down.
Yeah,
yeah,
and pointing in the right direction. Again, we've spoken about the wonderful drive from Max Verstappen.
Jolyon Palmer thinking he's hit something.
Jolyon Palmer definitely did hit something. Was it Carlos Sainz or Danny
Kvyat?
Kvyat.
Yeah, it hit Kvyat. I think we saw possibly more retirements at Brazil than anywhere else in 2016.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
There was 5 during the race, and Grosjean who
didn't start.
yeah. Again. At least it wasn't his brakes.
Yes, this is true.
It just broke it. That just leaves the last race of the season in Abu
The
Dhabi.
duel in the desert where there was only two people racing.
Adel Derby.
Yeah, and one of them, well, Lewis wasn't racing, he was slowing.
Yeah, he was slowing.
Yeah, not exactly racing.
Not exactly racing. He was trying to fight for a world championship after that second round of pit stops. Slowed right down. This kind of sounds like the podcast we did just after this race, only a month and a half ago.
I was going to say, it was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. Slowed right down to try and force Rosberg into a battle. It worked nearly, but nothing you could do to stop Rosberg from winning the title. Fair and square, Nico Rosberg won the world championship and then retired 5 days later.
We've got to say for this one though, fantastic recovery from Verstappen after the first corner spin and managing to get up to 4th, and
another great drive
being in
from
contention
Verstappen
for a podium.
Yeah,
I mean he was at the end he was 1.6 seconds behind Lewis.
Yeah,
after Lewis is slowing everyone down admittedly, but
I can't remember who said it. Somebody there was an ex-driver was asked what he thought about Lewis slowing down and essentially dictating the pace of the race, and did he think he did anything wrong? And he said the only thing Lewis did wrong was he decided to do that too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it had started doing it sooner, we'd have heard a lot more about it on the radio, obviously.
Yeah.
But would we have seen a different result?
Well, the whole idea of doing that is either to get him overtaken or crashed into.
Yeah.
And if the more cars, the better. I think he'd have been in trouble if he'd have done that.
And Nico had lost the championship.
Yeah, if he'd have done that before the pit stops, started.
Oh yeah, they said they were going to favour Nico Rosberg if he tried to slow them up. So he's like, all right, okay, so he raced normally, and then after the pit stops were done, he's like, no more pit stops. Guess what?
Yeah,
which you can't blame him for at all. You have to try anyway, by hook or crook, to try and win that world championship. And at some points during the season, to think that he was even in with a shout of taking it from Rosberg in that last race, that's testament to how good a racing driver both of them are. That they had we had a decent championship fight with a good point swing either way in 2016. It was the only downside of it from my point of view would be that it was one team almost right from the get-go that we're always going to win it. Ferrari could have got involved, didn't. Red Bull sort of got involved towards the end of the season. I just hope that we've got either two drivers from two different teams, or all drivers from all teams getting involved.
Yeah.
Whether it's Ferrari with Vettel and Raikkonen, Red Bull have got Ricciardo, Verstappen, and Mercedes with Hamilton and Bottas probably getting. I want to see all 6 of those drivers having a good old fight and a good old battle for it, or at least if we can have maybe one driver from each of those teams just winning races and fighting for a championship, whether that's Hamilton, Ricciardo, and Vettel, for example.
Well, if you think about what we'd probably consider classic years, it's when you've got Damon Hill versus Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Jacques Villeneuve versus Michael Schumacher.
Yeah.
Mika Hakkinen versus Michael Schumacher.
Two-way fight, two different teams. You don't actually know who's going to win going into any particular race.
Fernando Alonso versus Michael Schumacher.
The thing with that is, though, it's generally it happens during rule stability. In the middle or at the end of rule stability, and history dictates that when there's a big shuffle, one team gets it right and everybody else has to catch up for a season.
Yeah.
Not sure I agree, because if you think about when Red Bull stopped being dominant, it was when there were rule changes that basically took away the thing that made them dominant.
Yeah, it stopped them being dominant, but I'd argue that made Mercedes were more dominant than Red Bull ever were.
Mercedes were after things had stabilised.
But that wasn't that.
But when the double diffusers and blown exhaust and all of that went away.
Yeah, but Braun did it that year.
We've gone quiet.
Whenever there's a big rule shake-up, a team gets it.
or finds the right way to work around it.
Not necessarily. I mean, when was the last rule shake-up before 2009 was the last change, wasn't it, before 2014?
With the new wing regulations.
Yeah, so before that, when was the last rule change?
2000. That was the beginning of.
That was the beginning of
the
Red Bull. Yeah, but before 2009, when was the last big change before that?
2000 and...
Was it 2004 when they changed the aerodynamics rules?
Yes.
So 2004, so 2005 and 2006, Renault won those two championships.
Yeah, before that, McLaren did it when there was a big rule shake-up.
Yeah, but 2005 and 2006, you had the Renault for 2 years. 2007, McLaren, and 2008, McLaren and Ferrari before they changed again in 2009.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not going here for like large. I'm not saying that there's one team's going to emerge like the dominant force now over the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
but I'm
just
saying
for this year.
When there's a rule change, that year a team gets it right.
Yeah.
And it's usually one team, and then even if there's another team close, like because
with it being an aero change this year, are we going to see it being Red Bull because of Adrian Newey?
Yes, I think they're going to smash it apart. I think the only thing that's going to stop Red Bull winning the World Championship is Renault's engine plans.
But Renault was saying that they can wring everything out of their engine, so...
Yeah, but they've even said that they might have to dial it back with and look at future power projections for reliability purposes. So does that mean that they're going to end up...
Didn't Honda say that?
Exactly, it sounds very Honda-ish.
Well, do you not remember when that Renault article was posted on the group chat between the four of us, and I quoted the 3 or 4 key things that were said: progress, power throughout the year. It's just that this all sounds like Honda.
I think the big difference with Honda is Renault have a very, very recent history of F1 engine development.
Yeah.
Honda didn't when they came along.
No. Honda had an Etch-a-Sketch.
The other thing I'd say as well is that even when Red Bull were winning everything, Red Bull have never had the most powerful engine.
No.
So at that point, if it's just comparable to Mercedes, they might still be 2 seconds up the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
Possibly.
Just depending on who gets it right and who gets it wrong.
Yeah.
I'd also argue that they've got the best driver lineup on the grid.
Yeah, now that you look at Mercedes without Rosberg, I would say that you could say... Well, Ferrari is for me still, but Red Bull, they are up there, definitely. Close.
Ferrari, but the problem with Ferrari's lineup is the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's what's putting those drivers on the grid that could blow it all. Well, that is 2006 wrapped up in a nearly 2-hour-long nutshell.
2016.
2016. 2006.
I was happy in 2006.
Yeah, you would have been. Yeah, okay. Chris.
Hello.
Have you closed that email?
Have I closed that email? My email that's got all the quiz in it.
The quiz questions.
Games!
It's time for a game. Game that everyone can play along at home. I've written a quiz, basically. I wrote it before the Christmas break. I thought it might be good to, for these slightly quieter winter podcasts, if we had something to keep us entertained. So basically what I've done is I wrote 30 questions.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's long.
But 15 of them are on the 2016 season.
Right.
And then I've got 5 on something else, 5 on another thing, and 5 on something else. But the way I want to do it is not have everybody pit themselves against each other. Because that don't make for good recording if you sit there and you're writing down your answers. And then we go through them. We go through them afterwards. What we'll do is we'll go through the questions one by one, and I'll give the answers as the questions go through. But basically, it's going to be you 3 talking your answers through against me.
Seeing as we're running a bit long, should we split this over 2?
We can do the 2. Should we do the 2016 questions now?
Do the 2016 questions now.
And sort of the historical questions afterwards.
We'll do those next week.
Yes, let's do that. So 15 questions on the 2016 Formula 1 season. So I have too many numbers going on here. All right, okay, so...
Alonso.
No, that's definitely not the answer to my first question. First question is that Nico Rosberg is the 2016 world champion. He beat Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton to the crown, but 4 drivers occupied 3rd place as the season unfolded. 3 of them are Ricciardo, Vettel and Raikkonen. Who was the 4th driver to occupy 3rd place as the season unfolded?
Oh, God.
Max Verstappen?
No, because we're probably looking at early on in the season.
Daniel Kvyat, he won a race.
Danny Kvyat.
Oh, no,
No,
he
he
didn't.
Kvyat didn't win a
No,
race.
he didn't. What am I thinking? Didn't he have a podium?
He did have a podium.
Yeah. So would he have been third after that podium? Don't Google that.
I'm not googling.
Yeah,
Googling.
we've all put the internet down.
Everyone at home's probably racking their brains as well. So there are 4 drivers that occupied third place as the season unfolded. 3 of them are Ricciardo, Vettel, and Raikkonen.
I'm going Kvyat.
I'll go with you on that one, Kvyat, I reckon.
Does Dan got anything else to offer?
Do we need to decide this unanimously?
In the early season, there was a Mercedes 1-2 to start with, and then wasn't there a 1-3 or a 1-4?
Yeah, that would have been Kvyat getting his second, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that have put Hamilton in third?
Oh.
Yes, it would actually. Yeah.
Oh, tricky question.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So what are you going for then?
Yeah.
I think Hamilton's more likely than Kvyat.
Yeah.
I'm going with Dan.
Hamilton.
Dan's got it for you. Lewis Hamilton is the only driver to have held third. Talking to Danny Kvyat, slightly easier question this time around. Danny Kvyat and Max Verstappen didn't start.
Easy for you to say.
Didn't finish this a little bit. Exactly, Max Verstappen
Take a
didn't
breath.
finish the season in the teams they started in. Esteban Ocon was drafted in mid-season to replace Rio Haryanto, but which other driver took part in the 2016 season that did not start as a racing driver for that team?
Van Dorn.
Stuffle.
Yeah, nice and easy one for you. Which driver has the most consecutive points finishes in 2016? Or had the most consecutive points? I wrote this last year, so...
Was it Bottas?
Yeah, didn't he?
It was about Brazil by the time he first got a non-points finish.
Yeah.
Was it? Didn't Rosberg break some sort of record?
He broke all sorts of records, but
Rosberg got points in every race after Spain, didn't he?
Oh, of course, yeah, because
yeah.
Spain was the 4th race of the season.
I think it was the 5th
was it
race of the
5th?
season, yeah.
So Rosberg would have.
There was someone who'd got in the points at every race up until one that was relatively late. But it could be Rosberg.
Could be Rosberg or Perez.
no, because Perez had a bit of an up and down season, didn't he? He was either really good or really crap.
Right.
Well,
It
not
wasn't.
crap,
It wasn't.
but-
He
It wasn't
didn't finish
Gutierrez.
in Hungary.
Right.
Speaking of Hungary,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm starting to get that way too.
I reckon Bottas.
You on for Bottas?
I think Rosberg, but I will go with the majority.
We're now putting Dan in a position.
Don't get splinters on your bum.
Okay, let's go with Bottas.
Going with Bottas? Not correct.
Was I right?
No.
Oh,
He got an 11th place in Russia and has finished in the points every race since. It's Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh, of course.
don't say course. I don't even know that. Even though I've been told it, I still don't know it.
Question number 4. We joke about the amount of Esteban Gutierrez's 11th place finishes. He has 5, by the way, just in case anybody was wondering. But which driver has actually retired more than any other during the course of the 2016 season?
Nico Rosberg retired.
Jenson Button retired. Massa, by the end of 2017, is going to have retired more than other people.
But who had more race retirements than any other driver during 2016?
Grosjean?
Button. I'm going to say Button.
It's either Button or Grosjean, I think.
Would Alonso be up there as well?
Yeah, but I think he did slightly better on the old look side of it in McLaren than Button did.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna say Grosjean because his brakes always kept.
Yeah, that was quite a lot of retirements, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Because of brakes.
Yeah.
One because of crashing into a wall.
I'll
Yeah.
go with the majority, but I'm thinking Button because there must have been something in 2016 that's made me so fucking bitter.
I would have given you one of two answers, and you've not given me either of the right ones.
Oh, go on then.
We've not given our final answer yet.
Give us your final answer then.
Come on, it's tea time.
Sorry.
No.
Ericsson.
No, with 5 retirements and 1 did not start each. It's Jolyon Palmer and Daniel Kvyat.
Really?
Ah.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so talking of retirements, which race had more retirements than any other?
We just said
Brazil?
just said that while we're talking about it. No. It was
Not Australia.
No.
Are you sure it wasn't Brazil?
I think there was 5 in Brazil.
How many in Monaco? Because that's always your
Azerbaijan.
standard.
Oh no, Azerbaijan was boring.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that a lot of people didn't pull out, but
Just falling asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
got to be Brazil.
Tempted to say Mexico.
Mexico?
Hmm.
I can't remember.
That was the first lap incident, wasn't there, in Mexico, where I think their line retired or something.
So hang on. So if we're saying there's 5 in Brazil, so obviously there must be a race where more people have retired. Did anyone else retire in Spain? Because you on the first lap there, you've got both Mercedes out, so that's a good start.
Yeah. Well, not if you're a Mercedes.
No, but then you've got all the.
I'll tell you
the
how
back
many
end falling
retirements there
apart.
were in this race, and then you've got to try and decide which race it was. There were 7 retirements in
7.
one race.
It's got to be Monaco.
Max. No, because it didn't. Like both the Manners and stuff finished Monaco, didn't they?
Okay, how about Singapore?
Could be.
Yeah, we'll go for Singapore.
Yeah.
You should have listened to Dan. It was Monaco.
That's generally which race did the fewest people finish.
Yeah, generally speaking. The European GP took place in Baku, Azerbaijan, on the Baku City Circuit. How many turns are there officially on the circuit?
Oh, it's some ridiculous
25.
some ridiculous number. It's over 20, isn't it? It's about.
Is it
yeah.
24?
I think it is 24. Yeah.
It's 20. This is the actual official answer. That's quite a difficult one. Pirelli introduced a new Ultrasoft compound, the 5th dry tyre compound, and purple in colour. But how many races did it feature at in 2016? And an
Baku, Monaco, Canada.
There was one other, wasn't there?
Yeah, 4. Don't know which one. It was 4. I'm sure it's 4.
Was it Abu Dhabi? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah.
So you're saying there was 5?
No, 4. That isn't it?
Baku, Monaco, Canada, and Abu Dhabi.
I like my tyre allocations like I like my golf sayings.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
4.
It was 5.
oh, Dan!
That wasn't actually used in Baku. It was they changed it because of the tyre thing. That's why Red Bull was struggling on the medium tyre, which is the harder compound. And I think the 2 soft ones were the soft and the super softs. I think they actually used the ultra softs in Baku. Monaco, Canada, Austria, Singapore, and Abu Dhabi.
Oh.
Don't know why they use them in Austria.
No,
It's not a street circuit.
no.
Mercedes won all but 2 races in 2016. Which ones?
Spain.
Yep.
And the one that Danny Rick won.
And the one that Danny Rick won. I can't remember where.
We've just covered this in the
I
season.
know, we
Yeah,
were
you've
talking
just-
about it.
Motherfucker.
So it was late on, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't one of the last 4.
No. So that would have made it. It was where all the shoeies started. And
Was it US? No, Hamilton won the US.
Hamilton won US.
He won flag to flag, didn't he? US.
Yeah.
We just said that.
Belgium?
No,
No,
Rosberg won it, and Hamilton was second, wasn't he? Or third?
Hamilton was 3rd.
Rosberg won.
And Rosberg won.
Italy?
What happened in Mexico?
Oh.
Lee got bored. barbecues.
Yeah. Oh, you know, there was stuff, wasn't there? Lots of like shenanigans where both Red Bull drivers were on the podium at various points of the weekend.
So neither of them were in
Neither of
first.
them.
No. Italy. Well, who won in Italy?
Rosberg.
So it was after the summer break. I don't know. Put us out of our misery.
Oh, no. Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Correct.
Yes.
Malaysia.
I was just going to say, we've nearly said every race. We can't be too far away.
We covered this in the thing, and Lee actually gave me the answer for this question whilst we were doing our 2016 review. Nico Rosberg achieved the first ever triple slam of his career this year to win by leading every lap, get pole position and the fastest lap. But at which race did he do this?
Oh, balls.
It was a lights to flag victory, but he also got the pole position and the fastest lap.
Was that Italy? I think that was it. I can't remember.
That might have been Italy, or it might have been earlier in the season.
Might have been earlier in the season.
I don't know. All I can think about is food.
I'll let someone else get this one.
Italy.
Russia.
Fuck it.
Both Ferrari drivers are responsible for the team's highest finish of the year, which they managed a total of 5 times between them. Which position is this?
Second?
Yes, second place. What was Sauber's highest qualifying position of the year?
Qualifying.
Does Sauber get into Q3 at any time?
No, surely not.
So probably saying.
Didn't they tend to go backwards in the race?
Yeah, but I don't think they ever got that far forwards before they started going backwards.
I'll tell you, the driver was Marcus Ericsson was responsible for Sauber's highest qualifying position. He managed this position twice.
I bet it was 15th.
About 13th, I reckon.
Dan's still thinking.
I'm just trying to remember if they did get into the top 10 in qualifying. No, they
can't.
done.
So what are we going with?
I'll go with Paul. I'll go with Paul's 13th.
13th, are you going with Paul's 13th, Lee's 15th?
I think 15th, but it's majority rule.
So you're going for what, 13th?
13th.
Yeah. Should listen to Lee.
That's very rarely good advice.
Kevin Magnussen scored Renault's best finish of the season in Russia. Where did he finish?
At the finish line.
Yeah, he did.
At the end of the race.
Which position did he finish in then?
Facing forwards.
Toro Rosso's best finish.
Kevin Magnussen.
Renault.
Scored Renault's best finish of the season in Russia, but where did he finish?
9th. 9th seems hanging on to the points.
I thought it was. 9 sounds about right because he was on 2 points at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I just hit my microphone stand, sorry.
Okay, so let's go with 9th.
Yeah.
7th.
Oh,
Jesus, he must have got a
place.
nosebleed.
Okay, now we're getting a bit geographical now. The shortest travelling distance between races in 2016 was, as we've already discussed, Singapore to Malaysia. But which travelling distance between consecutive races had the greatest distance?
Canada to Azerbaijan.
No, I was going to say, you must give both to get the point.
What, the 2 races with the longest...
The longest distance between them, yeah. Consecutive races.
Is that on a round Earth or a flat Earth?
Yes, yeah, it would have been Canada to Baku, wouldn't it?
Where do you go before Japan? Yeah, let's go with Canada to Baku because I'm hungry too.
Yeah.
Lee, got anything?
Where just quickly because it was
There's only 2 questions after this.
Because it was such a strange place to have one. Where was before and after Baku?
Before was Canada and after was
it Britain after that?
It was somewhere in Europe.
It was in Europe. It was actually in real Europe.
Oh, Austria, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Austria.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Canada to Baku.
No, it was close. The actual one is Interlagos to Abu Dhabi, which is 7,559 miles.
Oh.
Which is slightly more. I think it's about 800 more than it is from Canada to Baku.
What if you go the other way?
It's uphill. It's uphill, so it's harder. Haas F1 team joined the grid in 2016 with Gunther Steiner as team principal, but which current F1 team was Gunther Steiner formerly a part of?
Sauber,
I think, yeah.
I was going to say Toro Rosso, but I know nothing.
Dan would have been closer. It's Red Bull. He was part of the team when they were Jaguar Racing, and he stayed with them as they became Red Bull. Then left Formula One for a few years, and then came back with Haas.
Playing and learning.
So the last question in the 2016 season, specifically for Lee,
Oh.
But anyone else can give me the answer.
We'll never see his like again.
Finally, the points total of Jenson Button for 2016 is 21. Is this more or less than he scored in his debut season in 2000?
Under a different scoring system.
Yes.
Less.
Hang on, in 2016, its scoring system goes from 1st to 10th.
Yeah.
And when he started in 2000, which I think was the advent
to
of
sixth.
first to sixth.
Yeah.
But he was
then-
in a Williams, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't a particularly good Williams, and I think it was...
Yeah, but at the time, a not particularly good Williams was still...
No,
Not as
but
bad
I
as-
think it was a top 10 Williams, not a top 6, because it didn't it turn out quite special when he got like a point in his first race?
So, but yeah,
He didn't
basically,
get a point in his first race. He retired.
It must be a second one. I can't remember which race it was, but he pulled out like this really good drive just to keep 6th. I'd say less points than... Sorry, more points.
You'd say
21 is more than he got
21 is
in his
more than
first
his
season.
first season.
It's a Jenson Button question. I'm going to defer to Lee.
Lee is correct.
Lee gets the answer.
Yeah, Lee Spot. I mean, he only scored 12 in his debut season in 2000, but that was, of course, under a different point scoring system. I haven't been bothered going back through and working out exactly
It would have been a lot
what
better
it would have been
results.
with a
I'm
modern
actually just
point
looking it up
scoring
now.
system.
He was 8th in the championship with 12 points, and with 21 points, he was good enough for 15th this year.
Yeah. So there you go. And then we've got for the next podcast, we've got 5 questions on people around Formula One, 5 questions on the history of the Formula One Championship, and 5 questions on records. Around
We'll do
the
we'll do those next week.
Yeah.
Just a quick news thing, because something has broken today. And it looks like Pascal Wehrlein will be driving a Sauber next season, so we won't be seeing him.
Yeah, we won't be seeing him at all.
Not on telly, anyway.
No. Unless he's one of these Sauber drivers who likes to plough into his teammate.
Yeah. So
By the time you're listening to this, Mercedes will have probably announced their driver lineup.
yeah, and so will Williams.
We all know what it's going to be
well, yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unless they surprise us.
it's the worst kept secret in Formula One.
Do we think there's... I know that there's been reports that he's had a secret... Bottas has had a secret Mercedes seat fitting, I read the other day.
He had a factory visit as well.
Yeah. But does no one else find it weird that it isn't confirmed?
No, it's because everybody closed down for Christmas and everybody went home. That's all. literally all it is.
Everyone was closed down, and they still announced that they had Massa in backup.
That was for Williams.
Yeah,
Williams
I know,
is
but
like, I mean, Mercedes just haven't bothered to confirm anything because they decided that they wanted to go and have.
I don't know.
No,
It
that
just seems weird.
They confirmed before Christmas that they weren't going to confirm anything until after Christmas.
Yeah, I still find that weird though. If it was
Because they said they were not going to say anything until the 3rd at the earliest. We're recording this on the 2nd, and we got a tweet earlier. I put something on Twitter saying first podcast of the year today, and Jana Robansky, regular listener,
Hello, Jana.
contributor. Oh, good. That means they'll announce all of the remaining seats tomorrow.
probably.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
They will.
So we know who's going to be in Sauber.
We know who's
we've
gonna
got
be
a
at
fair
Mercedes
idea
and
who's going to
Williams.
be in one of the Manor seats.
Jordan King.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't know about the other one.
and I think it's just going to be a question of who can raise the most money to get the other Manor seat.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks unlikely that Gutierrez or Naza will.
It's between Gutierrez, Nazar, and Rio Haryanto.
No,
Pastor Maldonado.
Pastor Maldonado.
I think he's gone quiet.
Uh,
And who is buying Manor?
Possibly,
yes.
we don't know yet, but
Ron Dennis has been linked, but so has Indonesian Kentucky Fried Chicken.
okay.
Where is the Indonesian Kentucky?
Just follow the smell of chicken.
Kentucky, Indonesia. Now I understand why they always say place names out in TV shows after, like London, England. Always in US TV shows, they always say where it is afterwards.
because they keep stealing the fucking names of our places.
Paris, France.
And their own name, their own places. Could be Paris, Texas.
Could be Paris, Texas.
Great soundtrack to that movie. Some of Ry Cooder's best slide guitar work.
I'll
I'll
have
get
to
me-
listen to it.
I'll get me coat.
So that's an early entry for 2017's worst joke.
And a strong contender.
Well, no, it's there's a film called Paris, Texas, came out in the 80s, and Ry Cooder, guitarist, did the soundtrack. And he plays some fantastic slide guitar on that. That is a real thing.
Is it?
Yes.
Are you sure? Because
Paul-
you see, but why did you say it like it was a joke then?
I didn't.
You did.
Maybe
That's why we all went quiet.
I'll get me cut.
Which is what we normally do at jokes.
Yeah. I'll get me cut.
We haven't got much more to.
We haven't. I think we've covered everything in this last 2.25 hours. God, has it really been that long?
I did have something to say about Chase Carey, but it might be too big a conversation for now.
Well, it's all right. We'll save it for the next podcast
Yeah.
because we're probably going to have not an awful lot to go on in January once the seat announcements are made.
Oh, there'll be something.
Car launches are about 3 or 4 weeks away yet, possibly even more.
Because the season's later as well this
Yeah,
year.
It is, yeah. Late February we got testing, so we got lots of time to talk about other stuff. Time for people to get in touch with us as well if they want to, and we haven't really had a mailbag today, so we can have a mailbag for next week.
Yeah.
Reach out and touch us.
Yeah, get in touch on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at 3 Legs 4 Wheels and Lee.
As a total shunt.
And don't forget we've got the Patreon podcast as well, patreon.com/3 Legs 4 Wheels. If you want to donate just $1 a month, you can get some extra content. Some of it's about Formula One, most of it isn't.
Most of it's not.
And
It's all funny.
Yeah, well, some of it is, some of it's not.
My bit's funny.
Yeah, okay. And drop us an email, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. And once again, Happy New Year. Thanks for listening to us in 2016, and we hope to hear more of you in 2017.
Whatevs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and possibly meet some of you if we make it to a race.
If we make it to a race, definitely. And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.